Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast. This is episode 197. I am Peter, and I'm joined, as always, by Matt.
Hey, what's going on? My shoulder really hurts.
The returning Matt, actually. Matt was absent last week.
Hail the conquering hero.
Yeah, and Connor's also here, getting into the booze immediately.
I remembered that I forgot to pour before we started. So,
but he says he doesn't have a problem.
Literally,
hey, I'm on holiday. Screw you.
Literally, the first thing we heard coming from Connor's mic was the sound of the cork coming out of the bottle.
Look, I am on leave. This is a Saturday night. It is the first Saturday night in God knows how long where I'm not in on the next Sunday, because I usually work every Sunday. So, screw you all.
It's the first Saturday in a while he's not completely smashed.
No, I usually don't drink much on Saturdays because I work every Sunday. So, so I usually can only have one or two.
All right. Well,
I was such a disappointing cork, actually. I'm disappointed with that.
It sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it was close to the mic, so it picked up well enough. Okay, so this is a DC Comics podcast. We talk comics every week. We get together, we talk about DC's comics, news releases that we're interested in, at the very least. Coming up on this week's show, we have the huge Flash number 750. We have Strange Adventures issue 1. We have Superman Villains issue 1, Batman 90, Justice League 42, and Lois Lane number 9. Unless I've missed any, but I didn't check before we started.
But I have a question. Why are you not putting the Black Label books at the end? You savage.
Because Strange Adventures is big enough that it gets a premium slot.
You savage.
Yeah.
That's my ruling.
It's fair, and it's a number one. We usually lead with number ones, right?
I mean, Black Label has still been going to the last sort of section, even if it's been a number one. But Mr. Miracle was like a huge, headliner when that was coming out. This is a spiritual successor. It made sense to put it.
No, it doesn't. You're just breaking the rules for no reason. This is unacceptable.
So, yes, bit of housekeeping before we get going. I want to just apologise to people who were listening to the audio version last week. There was a weird glitch on the audio file where the last 50 minutes of it was missing. It was just quiet at the end for some reason. Oh, I actually didn't do anything. I don't even know what caused it. But the weird thing is that I thought I fixed it because I re-uploaded the file. I checked the file, it was okay. I re-uploaded it, and seemingly because the file name was still technically the same, somehow Podbean, our audio podcast host, was still finding the original version that was missing the last chunk. So I had to rename the file so that when I re-uploaded it for the third time, it took the change and was then fixed. So it did get fixed. So if you don't, obviously you're downloading it now, you'll be fine with it. But it was a weird anomaly last week. So that is that. But that's pretty much it. So we got some news to talk about. Obviously we have not a big number of books, but obviously a couple of them are quite big. Flash 750 in particular is quite meaty. So it should be a fun show. Dead silence from the
no, just expect you to carry on. I'll be honest, I don't think either of us actually listen to you at this part of the show. We just kind of let you ramble on and sit here until you're done.
Does that mean we should do more sales figures?
No.
I'll find some sales figures. I don't know what sales figures would be for, but I'll find some. I'll find some sort of sales figures. Maybe I can get book sales figures for graphic novels or something. Because they don't go through Diamond, they go through something else. Maybe we could find the No?
Nah, we're good.
Okay, just check it. Thought I'd check. So we got some big stuff. So this episode is going to start with a bit of a rant, actually. Which
is this one that I can get on board with, if it's what I suspect it is?
I'm pretty sure it is. This is one that only affects the European side of our listeners. But it's rather a big deal if you read comics digitally, because overnight this week, from Wednesday to Thursday, Comixology in the UK and all of Europe, I understand. At first I thought it was just the UK, because apparently Brexit's at least partially to blame for this, but the rest of Europe's been hit with the same thing. The digital prices for comic books, not just DC, all comic books, skyrocketed. They almost doubled in price overnight. And I don't even know what to say about that.
Basically, they took they had a set conversion rate that they used from the dollars to euro, pound, or whatever applicable currency for anyone else in Europe. And they had that, and then they kind of just went, screw it, 1-to-1.
Yeah, we'll just change the symbol. When that's not how conversion rates work. So this is the thing. See, if it went up a little bit, I wouldn't have obviously I wouldn't have been happy about it because price increases are price increases. But if it went up 25 pence or maybe even 50 pence, right? Let's say it went from 250 because what's happened here is that a regular 3.99 book was 250 and is now 4. Like that's what's happened. Right?
Yeah.
If it had just went up like 25p or 50p up to the £3 mark, it would have sucked, but I'd have been like, okay, you know what? Everything's going up after Brexit. I should have expected it. It's whatever. But this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's unreal that my shop is cheaper because, like, okay, just some context, I use like a local independent store, not a chain, because probably over half of the comic stores in the UK are chain stores of some sort, and they tend to have the cheapest prices. I use a local one, and they did put their prices up over a year ago now because of Brexit. Where Diamond basically said to them, "Hey, everyone, we're going to charge you more because of the conversion rate."
Yeah,
and it was understandable, and I elected to carry on buying my books even though it was more expensive than digital because I like that store, and also I can appreciate that a tangible physical product that has printing costs, distribution costs, and then the store costs has it should be more expensive than here's a digital file. That
makes sense. Here's the thing. I immediately looked into physical books after this because this is the thing. It's not just that it's cheaper than some places. Digital books now in the UK are now more expensive than anywhere that sells physical comic books. There is not a single physical comic book seller in the UK that is now not cheaper than the digital equivalent. And just for the price increase, like the place that I used to use, which I'm going back to, I noticed their prices had been up 15 pence since I last used them. So that's what happened after the Brexit increase, was 15 pence at this physical place, not £1.50. Which is more than half of what the comic cost in the first place.
For context, in my store, before the price increase, it used to be about £3.10, I think it was, or maybe £3.20, as opposed to the £2.50 on Comixology. So I was already paying that extra, but I was okay with that. And then when Diamond gave them this notice, they put them up there. So a £3.99 book now cost me £3.65 in my store. Which is still like one of the most expensive places I've found. Honestly, it is more expensive than anywhere else I could buy them from, but I choose to go there because I like the store. Yet now they're still cheaper than Comixology.
Yep. So I guess I'm buying some physical books again.
I've been like impulse buying like a trade or two in pretty much every single sale that's gone on for the last 6 months. The weekly sales on Comixology, on the DC sales.
I've been doing that for years in Comixology.
Oh, but like consistently, like every week, I'll buy like one or two things, and just building up the library and stuff like that. Because of how much they cost, they were like it came down to like $2.99 or $3, I think it was, or $3.99, depending on which one you got. Now they're like £6, and I'm just like, no, there goes that. No more impulse buys.
Yeah,
I mean that's good. You gotta get it under control.
Oh yeah, but
sure, but it wasn't at a point where it was like bad. It was like, okay, I can afford one or two every week. I kind of allotted.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. 6 for a sale price for a trade is fine if you know you want it, because it's okay. That's a good price to get the thing to read it. But
you're talking to the guy that got his Barnes and Noble membership revoked by his wife, because anytime there was buy two get one, I was like, I'm getting one for free. She's like, yeah, but you're also spending $40. I'm like, yeah, but I'm getting one for free. So I get it. So I mean, that's where a lot of that stack behind me that's unread comes from.
Yeah.
So I was hoarding.
It's super frustrating, and you know what? And it may impact us a little bit. I mean, I haven't really spoken to Connor about it yet, but there's we were planning on bringing Elsewhere back, which was us reading some non-DC books, and I look at this and go, I don't know, I'm kind of reconsidering now. Yeah. Because, like, this is the thing, like, this is a price increase for me no matter what. Like, yes, okay, I'm buying a lot of books for physical again to save money, but it's still more expensive than it was before when I was buying everything digitally, and it was a reasonable price digitally. So, you know, so it's rough. I just wanted to complain about it.
Yeah,
it was handled pretty shittily, I think, in that they just kind of put it up overnight. When people asked them about it on Twitter, like their support page, like, oh, hey, is this a glitch? Thinking that maybe there was something lost in translation because it was the same price as the dollars, and, you know, it was just, hey, maybe there's something going wrong. And they're like, no, this is the price. And no explanation, no statement, no nothing. I don't know how they're handling it for people with the subscriptions on Comixology, because I don't know if I don't think they're notifying them that it's changed. I know our friend James said he didn't get a notification that his had changed. He just happened to check because I brought it up. I
mean, I will say this: at least they changed it after that week's books came out, because the way it works is you get charged on the Wednesday morning when they give you your books, basically. So at the very least, people do have the week, you know, assuming this news gets to them, to go and cancel the subs and make that choice.
That's the problem. I think the people who put the subs on quite often are the people who are not going to be checking every week in the store, because they're like, well, I know what I'm getting, it's just going to show up on my account, I don't need to go and look at it. Yeah,
I mean, to put this in perspective, let's say you're getting 4 books next week and you've not realised the prices went up. You were expecting to pay £10 for your 4 books. Instead, you'll be paying 16 for your 4 books. So it's a pretty huge increase that adds up really quickly. Really quickly. So, yeah, I'll be buying physical books again. That's where we're at now.
At your guys' shops, do they offer, like, if you have a pull box, you get a percentage off? Because mine does. So,
no percentage off from mine. My shop does other things where, I know Pete mentioned his had a deposit thing that for some places. Mine doesn't do anything like that. It does have, like, a lending library service where they have, like, a selection of, like, 50 graphic novels or whatever, and you can have one of them on loan at any point.
Yeah, because there's one shop that's really local to me. There's one that's further away that I can go to, but it'd be a bit of a trek, which is why I'm just going to get them mailed to me. But the one that's close to me, I would love to just go in. I'd love to saunter in on a Wednesday and pick up books and browse and whatnot. However, they have an insane deposit policy when it comes to a pull box, where you have to have a deposit for every single series you're sub to. Basically, they're clearly just terrified of people not picking up books, and they want to make sure that you're doing it. But other shops don't go that extreme, so I just can't get on board with it. It's just too much.
Yeah, and there are some places that'll, like, take your card details, so that if you just decide you're not going to show up and pay for it, they will charge you for those books that you have not paid for, and be like, hey, no, you can just tell us if you want to stop, but if you just don't come in after, like, 2 months, we're just going to charge you for the stuff that we've been ordering that you asked for. So I do know there are stores that do that. Again, mine doesn't do anything of the sort.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, is that it didn't sound like there was going to be any attempt either to try and, like, give you the books, because obviously there's the delay of, like, books are solicited, then you've got the final order cut off, and then so technically they're only ordering books for you 2 months away, if it makes sense. Yeah. The way they've always worded it is that it always sounds like the local shop I have won't even try and, like, give you the books before then. They'll just, no, you start getting your books in 2 months because that's what we've ordered for. And I'm like, okay.
Really? Oh, no. My store is much better. If I go in and they've already ordered, right? Like, I don't know what books are coming out next week, but there's something coming out next week that I've been getting on a regular basis for the last year, and I've just decided after this last issue, I don't want it. I haven't told my shop yet because I haven't been in. I've only just read it today, for example. I'll go in on Wednesday and say, hey guys, sorry, I don't want to get that book anymore. They'll go, sure, no problem. Stick it back on the shelf. Sell that whenever. That's it.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah, so I don't know. It really sucks. It's just something we're just gonna have to deal with. But hey, so yeah.
It was just really shit to find out one day. Just like what the hell? Now everything's costing a significant amount more.
Yeah, I'd be pissed too. If this affected me, I'd be super upset, because at least with a physical book, you're getting something.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's basically, to just sort of give you the difference, it's kind of like, Matt, if all of a sudden all your $4 books didn't go up to $5, they went up to $6 instead.
Right.
they skipped an increase and went straight to another one.
I'd be calling for someone's head.
Like these $8 books that we've been getting, these big ones.
Yeah.
Those used to cost £5.50, and now they cost £8. It's huge, staggering increases on these books. That is just it puts me off buying stuff. When I look at hey, what's coming up, I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't want that anymore.
In fact, actually, here's a better way to put it. The single issues now, the $3.99 single issues, now cost more for us to buy than the trades used to be on sale.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much of a difference it is. So the value just seems absolute garbage. And if I'm at the point where it's either paying $4 for a digital book or $3 for the physical equivalent, but have the physical book and get the arguably better experience, which I think it is, then I may as well just get the physical book. I'm not saving money anymore by going for digital. I'm losing money by going digital.
The only thing you're losing now is space.
But honestly, do you know the worst thing about this that really upsets me? Is that it makes me regret having bought so much in Comixology previously, because now, like, at least right now, I feel like I'm never going to add to it now, because I don't want to buy stuff there anymore. I mean, maybe I'll get some trades still, because the trades aren't necessarily terrible value in and of themselves, right? When if a trade I want goes on sale, it's still a relatively good value for, the 10 issues if it's, £6, right? Mm-hmm. That's fine. But, like, I don't want to add to my collection on Comixology now. Like, the prices are just too ridiculous. So it makes the whole thing feel a bit murky. Obviously, I'll still have access to everything I've already bought, but, like...
Yeah, it's funny because we've been doing obviously previously in the Multiverse recently. We started that, and I've been using my DC Universe subscription to read probably the vast majority of the stuff on there. Mm-hmm. But it was something where I'd like, if stuff comes up, if a sale comes up on, I don't know, we just started a Batgirl, the Stephanie Brown run. If a sale comes up, okay, I could buy both those volumes. And I'm like, should I bother? Should I just keep reading them on DC Universe like I'm doing anyway. Yeah,
previously won't be affected by this because it's all old books, and for the most part for me, I own most of them anyway already.
Yeah, that was one of the things you guys were asking me for story ideas, and it had to be stuff that was accessible, right? Yeah. He's like, I already have that. So it was,
Yeah, and if not, then DC Universe is a good option to make it, a cost-effective way of reading that stuff. We'll move on, but goddamn, that was a nasty surprise on Thursday this week. We do have a couple of bits of news before we dive into books. Nothing super exciting, couple of delays really. So first up, this one's kind of funny actually. Birds of Prey, the one shot by Bryan Azzarello, has once again been delayed. It's been delayed for 3 more weeks and is now scheduled for April 22nd, but we'll see if that actually happens. Do you know what? I joked about this when they delayed it last time because I said, they delayed it past the release of the movie. And I said, if they keep delaying it, maybe they'll hit the home video release. And honestly, they're getting close. Like, if they just put it back one more month...
When is the home video release for this? It can't be far off that.
I would say May. It's probably going to be early May. Early mid-May is probably when the home release is going to be. There's probably not even a date announced yet for it, but that's typically
I'm just looking to see if there is...
3 months is about the typical window.
It is, isn't it? That sounds about right. There was news 3 days ago of release art, home release art, so maybe there's a date. I don't know.
Yeah. So, if they push it back just 2 or 3 more weeks, they'll make that home video release date. So, hey, that's what it is. This was originally meant to be out last October. At that point, it was meant to be an ongoing series, and then it changed to a mini, and then it changed to one shot.
So there's been some expectation of the delay to now we got to accommodate for finishing the entire thing essentially, because it's still quite a big one shot.
Yeah, but it was solicited as a one shot for February, and then it's been pushed multiple times since. So that is that. And then the other things that have been kind of affected here. DC's cancelled orders for the final 2 issues of both Batman vs Ra's al Ghul and Inferior 5. And it says look for resolicitations, but there's no actual new dates. So they're going to resolicit the last 2 issues of both of those series. Keep in mind, Inferior 5 is the book that was supposed to be 12 issues and was cut down to 6. Right. And now its final 2 issues of that 6-issue version have now been delayed indefinitely. Batman vs Ra's al Ghul is the Neil Adams miniseries. Whether or not these are related in any way, like, is the delay for both the same reason, or is it just like Neil Adams is behind, so that's delayed for that reason, and then Inferior 5 is something else?
I suspect it's because they had to completely rewrite and redraw everything in these 2 issues from scratch.
For
Inferior 5.
Cut it short.
Yeah, for Inferior 5, yes, but not for Batman v Ra's al Ghul.
No, no idea what's going on with that one. I suspect they'll still happen. It's just kind of like what happened with Shazam, where they kept delaying it, and they were like, all right, fine, we'll just cancel it and we'll resolicit when we're ready.
I think the difference is, though, is I imagine the sales on both these books are vastly inferior to Shazam, just because
probably. Yeah. I mean, these maybe won't even get a trade.
Yeah, Inferior 5, like, I think basically debuted at like nothing, comparatively speaking. So it sucks if you've been enjoying those, but delays on those 2 books. That's all I had news-wise. I don't know if there was anything else that I missed.
Yeah, I got a couple more delays.
Oh, go on.
Legion of Superheroes 5 is now slipped 3 weeks from the 4th of March to the 25th of March. So that was supposed to be this week. It's pushed all the way to the 25th.
Oh, so it's now a late month book. That's fine.
Yeah, and Metal Men 6 slipped from 18th to the 25th, so that's stacking up on week 4 there. That's
because Dan Didio's he's drowning his sorrows this past week. He's not had time to write. he's listening to country music and just crying his eyes out.
Yeah. One more. Doom Patrol: Weight of the Worlds, issue 7. The final issue of that has slipped again. It's now the 8th of April.
Sure, Jan.
Yeah, we'll see about that. A couple other little bits of news, actually, though. So Wildcats, that reboot that Warren Ellis was doing, that was solicited a long time ago, and then
that's spinning out of his Wildstorm.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That has been cancelled.
Dang.
Ellis kind of, I don't know where he said it. It was a blog post. There was a bit of miscommunication. He kind of said that, the artist didn't want to draw it after all, and attempts to find a replacement were unsuccessful. The artist responded saying, he wasn't told it was cancelled. This is the first he was hearing about it. And he said, he was late. He was going through some stuff, and he was trying, but obviously it got too late, and the editors made a call, and that's a shame, because the last we heard about this was like last August, with Ellis saying that, we're going to resolicit at a later date. And he'd already written like 2 full scripts and treatments for the rest of it. But no, apparently not.
Yeah, I had a friend that was wondering when that was coming out. When I was talking to him on Wednesday. And then this happens.
Yeah.
Dang.
Couple more little things as well. We will apparently be getting some sort of mini pop-up imprint from Sean Murphy in the form of the White Knight Murphyverse.
Just so he can keep pumping out more White Knight related stuff as much as his heart content.
Fine by me. Keep it coming.
Yeah, no. Apparently, DC has approached him and asked if it's okay if we can do this. Basically, he'll be writing the kind of outlines for these various minis that will be happening, and setting up DC will be setting up the writer and artist teams, and there'll be a kind of a handoff and kind of letting them do what they want within the outlines of the story. Be called the Murphyverse. Stay tuned for books on Harley, Nightwing, and Batgirl. So we can expect all of those at some point in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll give him a try. I
have to say as well, I was actually expecting to get the solicits this week. I know it's a little bit early in the month to what we usually do, but we got a couple of things that DC was teasing that felt like we were leading up to solicits. Like they put out the June solicits. They put out the final solicits for Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane.
Yeah, but it's just still too early. I mean, this is week 1.
No, I know. And it's usually week 2, but I just thought, well, I don't know what's going on. Because they did put out the actual solicits for those, which was weirdly early. And they kind of announced this June Joker Harley Criminal Sanity Secret Files one-shot.
Yep.
Which is interesting. It's getting an actual, forensic psychiatrist to profile their version of the Joker. I'm not sure the form that's going to take place. I don't know if it's going to feel like it's just reading like the files, or if it's going to be telling some sort of narrative with it. I have no idea.
I'm sure they'll give cases. This is how I would think. They will show acts of the Joker, right, and have him profile. This and that. Is that in the story?
Yeah, I can kind of see this being Harley breaking down on this is the profile of the Joker and kind of explaining it for the team, essentially.
Right. Because they've done that on crime podcasts that I've listened to. So, like, I listened to one about the Black Dahlia murder and how this writer thinks that it was actually a series of murders around that same time in LA. Well, they brought in an actual FBI profiler who debunked that. And it was really interesting based off of the evidence that was there. So, but that's how they went. They went over the certain cases. He matched, this is what I saw here. So, but yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm liking this book. So if it's not a packed week, I plan on checking it out.
Yeah, I'm liking the book too, so I'm in for it.
No, that's everything.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. We had such big news the last couple of weeks. It's weird to just have a couple of delays and there's some minor things. But hey, so yeah, I guess we'll get onto the books. So obviously we're going to start off then with The Flash issue 750. This is one of the big specials. I thought it was going to be 100 pages, although I'm pretty sure it was only 80 something. Cause,
it was 80.
Yeah, because the contents page, I was like, wait, this isn't 100 pages.
Nope. Yeah, and the price. Because I went over my budget a little bit.
I think it was solicited as like a 96 page. I thought they all were originally. I don't know if anything got scrapped at the last minute. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know. But obviously, we'll tell you the creators as we go, because obviously different stories, different teams, all that jazz. First story, of course, is the main story. This is the next start of the next arc for the main Flash book with Williamson writing. Interesting because Matt's not read the last couple of issues, so curious.
No, but I listened to you guys talk about it, so I was kind of familiar. I don't like this Paradox character. It's just one more strike on Williamson, but then we'll talk about it later. Where I had my faith restored in him.
Sure.
Just not on Barry Allen. It's I'm mad that he killed Commander Cold because it seems like it was all off screen, and it reeks of some kind of change. Because at least I'm just projecting, right? Like,
no, I'm with you.
He was building him up.
Vaguely remember the death, but it didn't feel like a big deal at the time.
No.
It felt like there was going to be some sort of swirl. I kind of felt like how we did with the Alfred one in a way.
Right.
And then this here, like, oh wait, we had the burial already? What, we missed the funeral? What's going on?
And this has been my big issue with Williamson on the Flash over the last year or so. He puts these big ideas on as almost cliffhangers, and then in a panel in the next issue, it's solved. Right? So the last time I read Flash, Barry couldn't control the Speed Force. Well, here in one throwaway panel, he had Pied Piper fix the harmonics. Yeah. Well, then why introduce it, period? Like, if you're not going to do something with the story, it feels like it's just fluff. Or it's there for shock value.
It was there as an obstacle in that one arc, and presumably because it's still kind of lingering in the back, because he says he has to be careful, so presumably it's going to pop up somehow at some point that he has limitations.
Right.
But
and that's fine. You want your heroes to be limited somehow, and when he's the fastest man alive, but I just go ahead, Pete.
Well, what's funny is starting off with such a sort of negative tangent to this. I actually am a bit more positive on this than I have been in The Flash in a while. This is probably easily the best Williamson's written Flash in probably a year.
It's funny because I actually agree. Overall, this is the best the Flash has felt. Yeah, I do agree. There are fundamental problems like, Pipe, just solve it off screen, and Cold being like, we buried him. Funeral happened, it's fine.
These are all kind of lingering things from the previous arcs, though. Like you say, the feeling of the overall thing feels much more in line with what I want a Flash book to feel like. Like, that's the whole story here being that Iris has been going around interviewing people about what the Flash means to them and what he's done for them.
Yeah, that was real nice.
Yeah,
I liked all that, but
I like that. I like that a lot. And then, the actual conflict. Godspeed shows up. Iris kind of teases she's got two surprises, which obviously I think has all of us thinking, twins perhaps. Is that what the two surprises are?
It runs in the Flash family.
It apparently does. But so that's all fine. you know, I think generally speaking, the art's a little bit better than it's been as well recently.
I did feel the switching
Despite-
artist a little bit.
Yeah, because it felt like Sandoval was doing the regular, stuff, and then these big 2-page spreads were the other artist who I'm drawing a blank on right now.
Segovia.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just this book. I love the Flash so much, and I don't know, a lot of these. I appreciate the fact that he's trying to do different things, like he's not just running things back, but like when I got to the end and they teased this, next event, the Flash Age, not event, but big story, and I saw Turtle there, and like, I just don't want to, But I agree with Pete that and Connor about the story of what the Flash meant. I thought that was really nice. Like, it is good to have all that there.
I like that. I like that he's back at work actually as a CI. Having him do something normal and feel a bit more grounded again, I think helps a lot with what's been missing with this book. So generally speaking, this felt like what I want a Flash book to feel like, and I definitely like this story way more than I have anything else recently. Him speeding off when he's talking to Singh, when he's looking at stuff in the lab, just little moments like that, grabbing Rainbow Raider and all that stuff.
Which, as soon as I saw all the crystal stuff, I go, this better pay off to be Rainbow Raider. And it was, so I thought that was real nice. But like that's the other thing about him working for Singh again. It was like, well, did we ever get a resolution to the Trickster stuff, him being in Iron Heights? Like, no, he just took time off. So it seems to me like Williamson writes himself into a corner and it's just like, oh, well, okay, I'm just going to change it when I get back. And I don't know. I just like more coherent storytelling. And if this is his, I'll use 750 as a jumping off point, I'll just course correct. Maybe if I hear positive things from 751, I'll come back. But as it stands now, I don't know.
I think my biggest problem with this issue, because I agree, like I say, it feels better. Taken on its own, it feels all right. But I can feel the course correcting happening as I'm reading it. Like I say, these panels just explaining things. And even if I hadn't read the previous story, it would just feel like, oh, okay, these are what should feel like major beats. Like, as much as I didn't like the last stories, if you're going to do those things, and don't just move on, right. Don't just brush past them like, oh, we'll just forget that. Okay, we're doing the Pied Piper, we're going to fix the harmonics. Give me an issue on that. You want to sell that Commander Cold was a big part of this book for, I don't know, 30, 40 issues, however many it's been. And you want to sell that was a key relationship, and now he's dead. Give me an issue for that funeral.
And you're teasing him from the future and what his last name was, and we never got it. We just got his first name was Henry, right?
Yeah.
So, and these aren't like red herrings that are meant to lead you down a different way. These are just unresolved plot points. So.
Yeah, I know. Williams was tweeting that there are clues in this that lead towards what he's been building to, and that if you go back to like issue 9 or something like that, there was clues in that one as well that ties into what's going on in this issue. And I can appreciate that there's a long game, but that still doesn't help when you just brush over key elements of your story.
Well, it seems a lot like the DC shows in that, right, where they're telling an overarching story. But sometimes week to week it was unfulfilling.
Yeah, sure. The Pied Piper thing, like, I don't know, was that brushed over? I thought that happened in an issue. I remember that happening.
No.
Did it? I don't remember.
Yeah, because they brought in Pied Piper and because then he fixed the kid flashes as well.
No, that was the whole Mirror Master stuff in the Mirror Realm. Like, they brought them in with Heatwave and Glider, and they got that under control. But the Pied Piper, this is the first I've seen him in a while.
Okay. Yeah, I was just mixing things that happened with what it's telling me here.
I'm willing to admit that it's possible it happened in the last couple of issues, and I'm forgetting already.
Which is
I'm willing to state that, but that doesn't the stuff with Cold, definitely I didn't miss that. But that should be a big impactful thing if we're going to have him die and have, okay, this is what it meant, not just one panel.
I guess the thing for me is that because I've not been liking it, like I'm happy to just sweep it all under the rug, which is annoying because if he does end up having this big long game where all of it's going to be important, it's kind of weird that parts of it just feel so throwaway and parts of it are things that I want to forget. Because I mean, so much of reading comic books sometimes is just kind of having your own continuity and just skipping certain sections because either there's a writer you don't like or there's like a plot direction you don't like. It's kind of weird in one run to have like this this vision from one creator who's got this big thing for 100 issues, whatever it may be, but have sections within that you don't like. And I realize saying that Tom King just went through the same thing with Batman, but that was more of a gradual sort of decline as opposed to...
It feels very much like that, minus the Nightmares stuff, although you could tag in year one for Nightmares, right?
I think it's essentially what we're saying here. I mean, yeah, year one's the comparison, I agree. But essentially what we're saying here is that this is a pretty good Flash issue, but the only problem with it is that there's weight of all these like things that have built up over previous arcs that we don't like, that are unresolved or have not been satisfyingly concluded. I think I was just happy to not feel miserable reading The Flash because it felt hopeful. It felt like, because there's even a line from Iris at one point where she says, "Okay, enough emo Barry. I've had enough of him." And I was like, "Yes, yes, Iris,
amen,
slap him."
Because I remembered how much I hated Negative Flash, but that was part of the point, right? That's not who Barry was, and it was changing him. And then, but yeah, for the last bunch of issues, it's gotten really off track. And I expect more out of Williamson, I guess, too, because I've enjoyed just about everything I've read out of him. So I have higher standards, I guess. And when these things don't, play out, like I felt the same about the end of Nailbiter, where the end of Nailbiter kind of came out of left field. And then until you find out that, oh, well, he's doing a sequel series, that all pays off, right? So I know he's good at the long game.
And, I don't mind the actual action stuff at the end. Like, I mean, Paradox looks silly. I don't really like how it looks, but I do like the idea of someone, like the villain being obsessed with Barry changing the timeline. Like, that's what he wants to get him back for, is that every time he's changed something, it causes problems, and he doesn't have a right to do this because he's not a god, and yada, yada, yada. I actually like that motivation. Because, I mean, when we did that last issue, or the issue before last issue, whatever one was the origin of
the Paradox origin, that was boring.
Yeah, it was a conflicting issue because I actually liked the idea, the motivation for it. This guy lost everything because something changed when Flash, altered the timeline, which isn't exactly what happened to his family, but like they kind of had this ripple effect, and then every time Barry changed something, it made him stronger. Like, that motivation's actually quite interesting. He looks really generic though as a comic book villain. He looks like someone took, like, I don't know, one of the monitors and Spawn and something else.
Yeah. Well, and there's a
smashed them together.
Teensy bit of Darkseid and Thanos and Mongol, like the big hulking brute. And I'm like, why? To me, if you have a character like this, why does he have to be this big, massive hulking? Like, just make him like a regular kind of dude.
I really hate how every step he takes, he's crushing the ground. He's not even doing anything; he's just stepping.
He doesn't need to have this big, ridiculous comic book look. He could have a more simple style. And I get the idea that maybe the whole affecting around him stuff could still be happening, because the whole idea is that he is kind of this. He's literally a paradox because he's been created.
He's a break in reality.
Yeah. So I'm okay with the ground cracking to this extent. But the look of him is just too generic.
What Connor's getting at, though, it looks like it's just cracking because it's under his weight.
It's just pressing down into.
Oh yeah, they're doing it as if he's a Hulk, not as if.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, I get it.
If it was just there was like rippled cracks coming out around his foot, but his foot wasn't sinking into the concrete, I could kind of get behind that as an idea, like reality fractures around him.
Yeah, because he is a paradox, like Pete said. Like he shouldn't exist, so him being here is at odds with reality and the time stream and whatever else.
And bringing back Godspeed and having having this villain kind of like pit Godspeed against Barry. I like that in the overall sense of like Williamson's run of like that's the character that you introduced right back at the start, and we're still sort of playing with him and using him in different ways. That works for me.
When he called himself the bad boy of the Flash family, I was like, kind of like that because each group kind of needs that.
Well,
You
so
know,
he's
so
the,
he's gonna
he's the Jason
Jason
Todd.
Todd.
Yeah. or the Guy Gardner. You know, like so eventually down the line when he's not a straight villain, we can have a miniseries of Godspeed. You know, like it's kind of that jerk, and I think it'll be okay because we all know Tom Taylor made me realize that I don't hate the idea of Jason. I just hate who's writing him right now.
And who has been writing him for most of the last decade.
Exactly. So.
Oh, we'll get to some Liddell. We've got some Liddell later to talk about. Don't you worry.
I know.
I
little
would
hint.
like to know. There is a story in this I skipped, and it wasn't the Liddell one.
Wow.
I felt obligated to read that one.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it was the one with the Rosmo art, but we'll
Yeah, so I will a little hint for the Lobdell thing.
Yes.
I didn't hate it.
We'll talk about it.
Show,
we'll
man,
talk
right now.
We'll talk about it when we get there. Matt loves skipping ahead.
Tease.
Right?
No, it's a tease. Because I want to talk about this story the most. That's coming up next.
No, he just wants to talk about the hockey.
Yeah, what's up with the hockey? Yeah.
But
yeah.
you give me Johns and Collins writing a Flash story, and come on.
Joe and Matt does. Joe, my pet peeve with Matt is actually, after recording with him for years at this point, is that he loves to respond to something that one of us has just said, and then, like, at the end of the sentence, transition into a completely new point before anyone else gets a chance to respond to what he said. And it's like, no, we have to rewind and go back.
No, it's called the Barry Allen effect. Right?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So we got a couple of pin-ups, of course, as these big issues often have. Howard Porter doing this first one here. Got the whole Flash family. Got Flash balloons, Flash Day in the background.
Yeah. Not a huge fan of this. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not. I don't love it either, but. And then we got a Doc Shaner pin-up. Looks pretty nifty.
Oof.
Do love that
real
one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's got Boomerang Jr. It's got the versions of Cold and Heatwave that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's all got Zoom in the background there. Like, come on, what's not to love?
It's real nice.
Yeah, all the villains are in just sort of gold and Wally's in the middle in red. So that was really neat. And then the next story is the Jeff Johns story with the Scott Collins art, and it's a Captain Cold story. It's called Beer Run, and it's about him watching the ice hockey. He runs out of beer, so he puts on his jacket, goes to the store to get some beer, and some punk comes in with a gun. He's like, no, this is my corner store. You leave right now. This is I protect this. I support local business. You get out.
Yeah.
But he's so misunderstood because the cashier thinks that he's the one robbing them. And she's like, just take the money. And it's like, I just want my beer. It's like, we'll take that then. Like,
and I'm going to pay. But yeah, he goes, but I'm going to pay for it because I'm a man of my word. And this is the Cold that I love. Like,
this is the Cold that we should have had for the last God knows how many years.
Yeah. And it made me realize that I really just like Johns' Cold. Like, there's certain characters that I think that I like Paul Dini's Riddler. Right? I thought Riddler was my favorite Batman villain. But it turns out I just really like Paul Dini's Detective Riddler.
It was Johns who had Cold in Justice League as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Damn it.
Yep. So it's the working class guy that's like, yeah, I'm a criminal, but I have a code, and that's totally at play here. Like, at the end of the day, he just wants to get back to finish watching his hockey game, and he doesn't want to be bothered by anything.
Joe, I love
and you can relate, can't you, Matt?
Exactly.
Joe, I love about this though. I love that even Wally, because we get that one page with Wally and Linda, which, by the way, made me want more Wally and Linda and John's Flash. I know it hurt.
Right here.
Yeah, but even Wally's like, he just did this like before the Flash celebration just to get under my skin. Yep. It's like there's no other reason for it, and then it just cuts back to him at the end, and it's just him drinking his beer. That's all it was. He just wanted to go buy some beer for his hockey game.
So real quick, Johns has had the Keystone Combines through his Flash run, because I just reread that a couple years ago, and I had forgot about that. So it makes me think that Johns, being from Michigan, he's a hockey guy. However, him describing the Combines going into the intermission 2 points ahead, you don't count points like that in hockey. You count goals. Points are a different stat. You get points for an assist, you get points for a goal. So it should be the Combines are 2 goals ahead going in. So that caught me a little bit and distracted me. It's like, well, John should know better.
I never.
It didn't bother you guys.
Yeah, I never picked up on it. I would.
See, now that you've said it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because I don't watch hockey anywhere near as much as Matt does,
right.
But on occasion I do, and I enjoy it. And I didn't think too much of it as I was reading it, but now he's pointed out, I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird.
But then I go, all right, maybe he flubbed, he goofed, right? He's a busy guy. Because then he brings up the Washington Capitals season, which is the worst of all time, which I looked up, where they only won 8 games that entire year.
That's so bad.
So the fact that the Combines were supposed to be the worst team since them, which in today's it's very hard to only win 8 games, right? With the way that overtime is set and whatever. So again, made it up, but I love that that's who Captain Cold is, right? He loves his local team, and he's not going to miss them for anything, right? So he's watching them win, if it's the cup or a playoff game, whatever it is that he's getting back for.
I like the idea that it's just a regular game, but it's been so long since they've won one that it just matters.
That could be too, right? Like, but yeah. So that's a DC. If you're listening, Combines merch. I know one person that'll buy it.
Matt will buy any sports merch you put out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You have the Metropolis Monarchs too. I'm waiting on that one, or the Mammoths. The Monarchs are the baseball team. But Metropolis Mammoths.
Yeah, Matt's all over all
Islanders
this.
Colors. It's great.
Yeah. No, I like him supporting the team because they're underdogs, even though
Well, that's cold, right? Like he's just a dude that came across a freeze gun, and then learned how to use it better than anybody. So, and I've always felt like that's the thing that John's clung on to with Cold. That and his relationships with him making the family, because his family life sucks so bad. So that's why the Rogues are a family to him.
I think this works as well in the supporting the team. It ties in with the him actually wanting to support his local business with the store. Like he cares about his community.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, he does. Well, and he does. He always fights, and this is why I had such a problem with Williamson's characterization of him as King Cold, because that
makes no sense.
Which is not this Cold, right? Like,
yeah.
And this is the one I prefer. So, also we get a Collins drawing Grod, and parachuting gorillas into Central.
Well, yeah, but it's no John Romita Jr. Grod, so don't.
Hey now, there's only one John Romita Jr. Grod, and he looks like Sasquatch. So who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I love the story.
It was a enjoyable story. There's a pin up next by Mike McCone and Mike Atea. I'm not a fan, to be honest. This is Bart, and he looks.
I don't like the face.
Creepy as shit. Yeah.
His face is stretched. Like.
He looks like he's auditioning to be in The Boy 3. It looks like he wants to be the creepy doll.
He does look like a doll. I was going to say that.
Yeah. So there's that one, and then there's a Mitch Gerads one, though, which is really pretty, in fact.
It's a lot of fun, as well as a concept of what it is.
Yeah, so the kid's reading the book, and he looks like the sheer force of the Speed Force is moving, is like applying G-forces to his face as he goes by.
Oh, yeah, because you see like the Flash's like arm and leg as if he's just whizzed by. He's just going out of the panel, essentially. And the kid's just sort of looking. I love the look in the kid's face. Actually, he's like, it's almost like when you're like on like a really fast roller coaster or something, and your face sort of goes back.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's really well captured. You know exactly what it's trying to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Gerads is really good.
Yeah. You're gonna have a tough one at the end of this show, Matt.
Yeah. I've realized this.
So then we have the Manipal and Bucciolato story. This is harkening back to the New 52 era of the Flash.
My second favorite Flash team after Johns and Collins and the Wally stuff. This New 52. This is probably my favorite thing in the New 52 was the Booch and Manipal Flash.
I forgot how much I loved Manipal's Flash layouts.
Yep.
He gets so inventive with the layouts on his Flash stuff.
I'm not as enthusiastic about their Flash run, to be honest, but
I love that run. I got the omnibus as well, but I'm not a big fan of this story. This new power. What is it? Speed? What does he call it?
He did this though in New 52. This is the thing that he realized he could do. So
Yeah.
I like the fact that it calls back. Like, this doesn't fit in current continuity, right? This
Yeah.
was just like a one-shot throwback, almost like that Collins John's story.
Yeah, I've seen
Like
some
a
people
throwback.
say that, oh, this is continuity now because of what happened with Linda. I'm like, what? No, it's surely this is just set in somewhere in their
No.
run.
Yeah, because, and then when he goes to what is our Earth apparently, with the little girl on the salt flats,
Reading their flash book, volume
Yeah,
1.
that's
Exactly.
Let's explain what's happening here. Barry, when he's asked a question by Iris about why him, why should he be the Flash, he uses this power that he has, which I also don't like because it feels so, I don't know, easy to, I don't know, exploit.
So,
I guess.
As well, yes, only, but see, it works in stories like this or in annuals where it's great for a what if, because it's him doing the alternate parallel reality type things, which to me is inherent in
Well,
Flash.
just to make this clear, he is essentially just doing a trick with the Speed Force to look into possible other timelines to what would happen differently, and it's just an excuse to look into essentially Elseworlds of what happens with Flash.
I think what's frustrating about it is he can just travel to other timelines anyway. That's kind of his thing. It's the idea that he can just mentally project these other ones that I don't like about it.
It just feels too easy.
Yeah, I don't mind because it's not like he's interacting with them. He's just there as a passenger.
Because he goes to one where Iris is the Flash, and he's still with
Hearing the
Patty.
wind.
Yeah, you missed the big one first.
I was going to go back. I was going to go back to Grodd. I was going to go back to Grodd Flash. I hadn't forgotten about it. Don't worry.
Grodd Flash, guys. I have a new favorite character. We had
What the hell?
we had Space Gorilla, right? Now I have Grodd Flash.
Space
like-
Ape, right?
Space Ape. There you go.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Patty Spivot can suck it. I don't care about Patty, right? I don't care about a bit of world where Barry's still with Patty. Patty's the worst.
What's so
Screw you, Pete.
What's so funny is like a month ago I took to Twitter, go, hey, remember when Johns wanted us to think that Patty Spivot was a character we should care about?
Remember when Johns wanted Cowgirl to be a thing?
Yeah. So I think he just, I have a thing for redheads. I think John just has a thing for blondes, right? Like,
But then he forgets all about them.
yeah, exactly. So, no, I like this. I might just be biased because I really love the Booch.
I'm mixed because I really like the point
Booch
of it.
novel.
I really like the point of it. I love the actual reading experience. I love the art. I'm just not. It's just the core concept that I just didn't really like. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I know. I'm a sucker for the girl yelling "Go Science" because she predicted where the lightning storm was going to be.
Yeah.
Like,
Doc Brown could use a lesson or two from this girl.
yeah. I mean, well, to be fair, he was operating in 1980s, so this is just had almost 40 years on him. So
yeah.
You say almost 40. If you go from 80,
huh?
if you go from 1980, you
Right,
got
but
40 years.
Back to the Future was
As someone
1985.
that appreciates
I know,
Back to
but-
the Future, unlike you, it's 1985. So I had
I know.
to.
I just wanted to get a reminder again that 1980 was 40 bloody years ago.
I realized just like yesterday that like Inception is 10 years old, and I feel like ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I was saying to you last week, Peter, that Casino Royale is nearly 15 years old. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, that hurts. Why'd you say that?
Yeah, it's next year. It's 15. I'm like, what? This
I
is
remember-
the modern, fresh reboot of Bond. How is that 15 years old?
Yeah, I remember the first time I showed that to Ashley, to my wife, and she fell asleep, and I had never been so offended.
Did you consider divorce?
No, because we were still dating, but I was like, she ain't enjoying this James Bond. There ain't no hope. But then I got her into the Marvel movies, and now she's a full-fledged Captain America maniac, so it's fine. But yeah, watching Casino Royale, and she crashes on my couch.
I could fall asleep during Casino Royale.
Yeah, we know, but you're not. But see, she was honest with me. She said she liked James Bond because she had seen the Brosnan movies with her parents.
She liked Brosnan, is what she liked.
Turns out she lied, as you do in an early relationship. Right?
As you do in a relationship.
Yeah, to preserve some sense of ego or whatever. Like, yeah, I like James Bond, and now she'd be like, Now she was like straight up, no, I'm not gonna see the Wonder Years with you tomorrow night. You know, like that was the conversation on Thursday. And I was like, hey, fine, enough. Her like 12 years ago would have been there acting like she liked the band. So, anyways, that was a digression. Very, very, think force.
Yes.
Or whatever you call this.
The speed mind, I think it was.
Speed
No,
mind.
I mean, I kind of like the point as well that Connor said, like the idea that it's getting is no, anyone can be the Flash. It could be, anyone could step up and take this on.
It just happened that he got hit by lightning, but he wasn't destined to be. It
Like,
could have been anyone else.
I almost feel like you didn't have to have him witness everything. Like, you could have just paused in the moment where she asked him that. We could see all these alternate realities, and then he could kind of make the same point anyway, and it'd actually just work as well, if not better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Manipul wanted to draw the Flash again because it's been a minute. So
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be mad at Manipul Flash. Like, I'm just not. Like,
it's a gorgeous looking little story, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Plus, Flash Grod.
Yes,
Or
Flash Grod's
whatever
a
we call it.
thing. Yes. So the next story is Flash of All Worlds, and it's the Marv Wolfman written Riley Rosmar. And did you skip it as well?
No.
Okay, just checking.
It wasn't good, though.
So we are all on record of being really anti Riley Rosmar, and what's really funny about this? What's really funny about this to me? So it's a Mirror Master story, which I appreciate, right? And he's in like a house of mirrors and all that.
And it's Scudder, so it's classic.
Yeah. So what's really funny about this to me is that eventually Mirror Master hits him with something that makes his head grow larger, and all I could think was, wait, it made his head even more Riley Rosmo? Like, that's literally how I felt when it happened to him, because he's drawing this big head, and I'm like, this just looks like your art. Like, you do this all the time.
That's the only reason Rosmo took the job, because so he could draw Flash with an even bigger head. Like, yeah, this felt very Silver Age-y. I do like the references to the old Flash, like him becoming a puppet and him with the giant head and all the references to those old Silver Age covers. It was a chore to read, and like Rosmo's art doesn't fit.
Yeah, I don't like Rosmo's art. I never do really these days. But I mean, I didn't like it either. It just kind of felt like there wasn't much to it. It was a lots of action pages of him like dodging mirrors and just like them looking angry at each other and whatnot. Didn't get a whole lot of it myself. So we can move on. This was the weakest.
And he draws a very stretchy Flash.
Yes.
That was the point where I knew I was out. I thought, well, maybe he's okay on Flash, because I don't think I've seen him on Flash before.
Right.
I got like those first 3 panels at the top of the first page, and then I was like, it was the third one, and I was like, nope, look at that leg. And I was like, nah, I just know that there's no point. I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to put myself through it. Yeah,
I just hate how every single like forehead and chin are all like extended out.
So
it bugs me.
Pointy.
Yeah.
He looks like the Moon Man that McDonald's used to use. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Is that beyond your time? Yeah,
I can't remember. I'm sorry. But that was that story, which I think. I mean, let's not say least favorite. I mean, we'll get to the Lobdell one at the end. But let's talk about the second Williamson story, which is also going to tie into what he's doing in Flash this year. David Marquez is in the art for this one, which is maybe why he wasn't on Batman Superman for that.
And
past
that's
issue.
okay, because I'm gonna say this was my favorite story in this entire book.
I thought you might say that. We have a Jay Garrick
Jay story, and I'm there.
We have a Jay Garrick Flash story set in 1940. He's taking on the Thinker. It's very pulpy. Thinker's trying to to control everyone's heads with his thinking cap. It's a whole thing. Art's obviously very pretty, and but the key thing here, though, the very interesting thing, is that a Reverse Flash whispers in his ear when he's traveling at super speed, says, "They'll forget you, Jay Garrick. I've seen your future," and we know he's forgotten. That's obviously a big thing that's happened with with Flashpoint and all the other jazz. Hell, even before that with Crisis, there was like weird changes to how Jay was perceived. So. That's basically it. He throws his hat around, and you get this big final page where he's running, and we see all the future Flashes kind of around him.
Yeah, so the whole idea of Hope being integral into a Flash, right? That Jay's not really part of the Speed Force, right? He got retconned in, but so it's not necessarily the Speed Force that makes you a Flash. It's this never-ending sense of hope. And so when we get to the part where the reverse flash, we don't know which one it is.
Yeah, that's why
whispers in his ear.
That's why I phrased it like that, because I mean they could easily tell us this is Zolomon or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So, but he takes it that it's in a voice, and it's like, and he's like, the voice is so loud lately, it feels like the bad guys of the world are gonna win. But then he tells the thinker, because it looks like all's lost, that fear's easy, hope's hard, right? And in this day and age, and this time, I think that despite this being in the 1940s, right, that's such a resounding message, and for a Flash to carry it, and then you turn the page, and he says he's up for the challenge, and he does the hat throw, like, oh man, this one hit me hard. This one got me stupid emotional, sitting there reading it at work, So
it is worth mentioning that the Reverse Flash in that final page is definitely Thawne, just going by the eyes, but
doesn't really mean anything for sure, does it?
It doesn't for sure, no. There is also a reference to the Wonder Woman story from Wonder Woman 750, where he says in his narration that Wonder Woman showed him what he could be doing, going out into the public and inspiring hope. So there are definitely some connections there that they're obviously building to this new timeline. How much of that new timeline we get now is up for debate.
This was probably too late to change.
But if it only shows up in whoever's doing Justice Society, and it acts as an anomaly or whatever, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about this last week because we got a bit more news last week about Jim Lee staying on and all the rest of it. I'm still of the stance that we'll get something called 5G, but it won't be whatever it was going to be before.
It's not this huge line-altering thing. Yeah. We talked about it on the shop on Wednesday, too, about that.
I know a lot of the projects seem to be on hold in that. They've told artists, hey, just stop drawing right now, whatever you were doing. They're still paying them for what they have done already so far. They're not, even though it probably won't get published at this stage, they're paying them regardless. So that's good, at least.
Yeah. So no, that's cool. I like this as well. It was like, it's not much to the story itself. It's very short and simple in what it's doing, but it's this classic sort of J pulpiness.
It might have the pulp bias here out of me.
Honestly, the idea of a Reverse Flash going back and sort of, almost try to tease him that, you're going to be forgotten in the future, you're worthless, is actually kind of exciting. I love the idea of getting a story, like whether it's a JSA story or whatever, where Reverse Flash that we know from, Barry's stories goes back and torments Jay via time travel.
It works particularly well in this story, given that Jay has only just kind of decided that he should be doing more and making a statement like Wonder Woman.
Well,
and the idea that you're doing it all for nothing is essentially what he's being told.
And he's like, but you know what? That's fine, because I'm not doing it for this. I'm doing it to make the world a better place because I want to see it. And God, I love Jay Garrick. Like the fact that we never got like a Paul Newman Jay Garrick, man.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, short little stories like this make me wish we could get a Jay ongoing book for a while, or at least a 12-issue series or something, because just to have like a full set of this, where him fighting the pulpier villains of the 40s and stuff like that, and maybe that's what JSA will kind of end up being.
And if so, awesome. Plus, Marquez's...
Go
ahead. I was going to say, Marquez's art fits it perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what were we going to say, Connor?
I was just saying, I feel the same way about like Alan Scott as well, in terms of maybe you do just do it in a JSA, but I want those sort of stories that I feel like we haven't had in so long.
Yeah. Wildcat, like Jesse Quick or Johnny Quick, Jesse Quick's his daughter, Liberty Bell, her mom, like there's all these characters that I have a stupid fascination with, and I can't tell you why. I mean, originally it was because I thought they looked cool, but I had no idea who they were. But no, Jay Garrick's definitely up there as one of my favorite.
Do you know what I like about the heroes of this age? That's something different in terms of the costuming. Is that they're not suits? They're still wearing like trousers. They've got like an actual belt with a normal buckle on. It's like and then a top on. It's very different. Well, they're still stylized with capes and stuff.
I like that Jay's those almost based off of a World War I uniform. Right, because that hat is very much
the collar.
What they were, right? The collar, the vest, how it opens up that way. So it almost is militarized, but not really, not like current, like, you think Batman in his tactical suits or whatever. And with Wildcat, it was just a guy in a whatever he was wearing, because it wasn't latex and it wasn't spandex.
Yeah.
But him just going out there in boxing trunks, basically, and knocking out crime.
The suits feel a lot more casual, don't they?
Yeah.
But in a way that I kind of really like.
Well,
I
and
think
to me, and I know Pete hates it, but it's why I didn't mind the Superman T-shirt and jeans.
Oh, I hate
phase.
that. I hate that. Superheroes should not be in jeans. End of discussion.
Yeah.
But no, this works because it's meant to be kind of like, it's a natural evolution of, okay, the first wave of heroes were a bit more makeshift. It was just regular clothes that might have had a logo or something.
Well,
and then the next generation, things got sleeker. It's like technology where, at first you can almost see the workings of it because it's mechanical and you can see how it all fits together.
Right.
But over time, we make it sleeker. We're obsessed with hiding what it is, so that by now we have just little, rectangles that are phones. And the hope is that one day we'll have holograms and glass things and, whatever.
Right.
Same with superhero costumes. They keep getting more slick and ridiculous.
It doesn't get more like found costume than Alan Scott's original, which was like a red tunic and trousers and a purple cape.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just picked those off of a line as he was going through.
At least now he's got the collar as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, his original costume with the domino mask. You're like, man, where'd you find this?
Yeah,
it's very swashbuckling though too.
And actually, I like how the pin-up after this is related, because it's a JSA pin-up with J at the front.
It's really nice, yeah.
Yeah. So, that one's pretty nice. And then there's a pin-up that I'm not that fond of by Kerry Randolph and Peter Steigerwald. It's Wallace. It's weird.
Not a fan at all.
Yeah, weird proportions. It's going for kind of a fisheye thing almost with the perspective, but yeah, I'm not feeling it.
It's just not. Do you know what I think would have sold the fisheye thing is if the background's warped as well. It feels like only he's warped.
Yeah, it's a bit rough. Which leads us on to the final story. We knew this was coming. This is the Flash Forward epilogue, which is funny because we have not been reading Flash Forward, but this clearly is meant to work on its own as well, because this is basically this is Wally with the Manhattan style narration boxes explaining what he is now. Here's the thing about this story though. This doesn't feel like Lobdell came up with any of this. This feels like they know what Wally's doing soon, and they said to Lobdell, "This is what information you have to get across." And he went and wrote the script, obviously, but none of this feels like Lobdell's idea. This just feels like a set list of things that Wally's going to be doing soon. So they're teasing all this Wally Manhattan stuff.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like to me.
The problem is Lobdell can't write good dialogue.
And that's fair, but because of that though, it wasn't frustrating me in the set, because when it's teasing things where it's like, oh, I remember all my various histories, and it's one of these weird things where even though Doomsday Clock's been kind of in a weird place with how it connects to everything, the way Wally's talk, because there's a couple of specific lines where Wally's talking about how, oh, we formed the Teen Titans, and then later we formed the Teen Titans again, and all I could think was, or he watched the Teen Titans be formed again, I think was maybe more accurate, but all I could think was, this sounds exactly like when Johns was describing the metaverse with Superman. Like, this is very intentionally sounding very similar.
So the thing of when he's going through the crisis, right? It's the second big splash page after he recaps his journey that led him to here. And it goes through the crisis in 0 Hour, and then the 90s, the Wildstorm universe, until finally it lands on the New 52.
Mm-hmm.
That's the metaverse. Like, everything that we saw John talk about in Doomsday Clock is right here.
Mike.
Nope.
No, you're right, and I think this is them incorporating what John's created in Doomsday Clock into the mainline DCU, which is cool. Yeah. Now, it sucks that it's, Lobdell's written this little thing, but this is just kind of setting it up. Obviously, what we're really going to do is in the Generation one-shots. Now, again, those are probably going to change a little bit because of the, what's happened. But, the next page after that is him saying, wait a minute, the JSA are back, the Legion are back. And we don't really have the JSA back yet. I mean, we saw them in Justice League via a bit of time travel, but we don't really have... our JSA back yet in like a way where we understand what they are in the world. I'm sure that's coming soon.
But he's talking about how he's sitting on the chair and then he sees this. But it's like, how is it possible? Like, So I like that there's that that mystery there, and then when he starts talking about all these moments that have happened twice.
Yeah, actually,
Right?
but this is what I was talking about with the metaverse, is these different versions of things happening. And what's funny is that me and Connor previously just did like this panel of meeting Barry for the first time. We you know, we're reading that story, we're reading, you know, Born to Run, and I love that it also does this new version of it where it's like, here's the version where Wallace also existed, which we've never really seen. But here's what this version is.
Right?
Yeah, because it's funny because there's essentially 3 versions of this. There's the 2 that we see here, which is the original one and the current one. But there's also the one in the middle where it was just Wallace.
Yeah, where Wally didn't exist for a while. Yeah.
Right. Where it's just Wallace, and he was an angry teen that just wanted to be left alone. You know.
Yeah.
So, also, I wish they had differentiated the names. Like, one was Walter and one was Wallace. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Because having them both Wallace, I just think about that family.
I think it comes from, New 52. This was, for all intents and purposes, supposed to be Wally. This was the replacement.
Right. And that went over as well as the lead balloon.
Yeah. So and then when they brought back Wally, it's like, well, what do we call other Wally now?
Right.
Wallace will do.
Yeah. So.
Do you know that page that comes after this, where it's split down the middle, right? And you've got like Barry's like old costume and new costume like split, you know, half and half. And I'm like, man, I prefer the old costume so much without those extra lines. It's so much better. And then Wally in his costume and Bart in his old costume. And...
Well, you got and you got Max Mercury, you got XS, you got Jesse Quick. Like, you have the old new, or the new old, whatever, however you want to say it, when post Flash Rebirth, when Wally got his new darker costume. You have Irie there with hers.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh man. I go, what's Lobdell doing? He's making me like something that he's writing, but then, as Pete points out, this is like probably not exactly coming from him. He's just having to hit these beats.
This is. I mean, I don't know who's spearheading this exactly. Who's like, you know,
we do. It was Didio.
Well, yeah, it was Didio, but like, I don't know who was like.
We know it's not Didio because it's making Wally important, Connor.
No, but that's the thing. I don't think it is making Wally important. It's making him an observer and noticing these things. It's not making him important.
You're telling me the Watcher's not important to Marvel?
Yes.
I do wonder, like, who's going to be creatively like directing like this generation stuff now with Didio gone. Like, is there someone who's going to be like the showrunner for all this generation stuff that they're going to give it to?
I feel like this is going to feel extremely disjointed now.
Probably.
Zero is probably going to feel. Maybe it's too late to change. I don't know. They've got time if they want to change it, but maybe that'll feel like have the focus that it was meant to. And 1, maybe, but after that, I feel like it's just a bit of a free for all, and that just tell your story, get in, get out, don't cause any damage.
But that said, though, I don't necessarily take any of this as like meaning that we won't get, because if metal, or if death metal and Generations was going to be the things where they finally corrected a few things that they wanted to fix, you know, from New 52 that they hadn't got around to yet, because I don't think it's going to be a big line-wide thing where everyone is back to like, you know, post-crisis or anything like that. But I feel like this was going to be their chance to fix a few things that they'd been meaning to get to, and this is how they're going to do it. I still think that could happen. Like, I don't see any reason why like Jim Lee is like opposed to doing that stuff, but clearly whatever 5G was going to be in Didio's mind is changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how I think we're more likely to get stuff fixed now than we were before.
Very possibly, yeah.
The intention before never felt like fixing or let's get things back that we had before. This was a completely new thing in that, okay, let's make Batman old and we'll put someone new in the suit, and the same with Superman and you know, and whoever, and it didn't feel like there was. You know, it didn't feel like, okay, for example, we were going to get Steph back as Batgirl. It was like we much like just get a new Batgirl, right? If that was the case. And I feel like now we're more likely for them to just use it to course correct a couple of little bits and fix things here or there. Now that they're not aging everyone up and doing it quite
like I feel like just simple stuff like fixing Dick and Wally, not necessarily retconning everything, but at least putting them back in a good place. Like that feels more likely to me now by the time we're done with all this stuff.
It just kills me that like Flash operates in the Twin Cities of the DCU. What's going on in Keystone? You're telling me they can't have a Flash? Like, it's so simple. Just put Wally in Keystone. Even if you're not going to give him a book, he operates there and shows up occasionally. Like, it's not difficult, but they just, for whatever reason, just can't have nice things. And it drives me up the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they fix some things that, maybe have been bugging us with this stuff. With a bit of luck, they will, but
yeah, now we have like 7 Earth Green Lanterns, though.
Yeah, well, right? Jessica needs a solo book, right? I'm just going to say it. Jessica needs a solo book.
And that's fine. That's fine, but...
On that, apparently Odyssey has actually been doing, like, timeline shenanigans of its own recently.
Yeah, so guess who, when they have spare time, is getting caught up? This idiot right here.
Yeah, no, they've got a character that can rewrite the history of the DC universe, and they've been like, to fix the mistakes, so to speak. And it's like, and that's the whole point of this character is, okay, well, we can kind of recreate the timeline, but we can leave out the bits that we don't like, and that's their idea. That's what's going on in that book right now.
So what gets me there too is that it's Abnett, and I fairly trust Abnett. So
Abnett actually, in many ways, for DC falls under a similar category to what we've just described as Lobdell here. Not in terms of quality, but in that this doesn't feel like Lobdell's story. This is, okay, the story's been given to him, go out there and just write it for us. And,
But, counterpoint to that, though, is I feel like Abnett's work on like, Aquaman was definitely him, or Sideways.
Oh, sure. Right? I'm thinking of stuff like when he did, I think he did the Titans Hunt.
Yeah, Wild Hunt.
I didn't write Sideways.
I thought he filled in on. Did he not? Did he not take it over?
You're thinking of Silencer.
Silencer. Thank you. I was on the S ones.
Yeah.
It was when you threw that out there. I was like, wait a minute. I've had nothing to do with that.
I was on the S ones. It was. I remember. Yeah, I remember Sideways.
I'm not talking about all those books because again, Lobdell has Red Hood, which is all his.
No, and I get what you're saying, Connor, because I've never been filled with excitement like when he hinted that at the end of Wild Hunt or whatever it was called.
It was just Titans Hunt, wasn't it?
Titans Hunt. Like
my memory of some weird details are so good, but then there's just things like in the last 5 minutes, everything's been wrong.
Because you know how much stuff has come up in the last 5 years that I've read?
Oh, I know.
Between the double shipping and covering stuff I normally wouldn't for the show, like that's a lot. But anyways, when I got to the end of that and they realized that there was a founding Titan missing, and it was the first hint that something big's happening, and that was all Abnett. I credit him with stirring up that excitement.
Well, that's the thing. I suspect it wasn't. I think it was more DC. Hey, we're going to do this. Do you want to tease it for us at the end of this book?
Right.
And that's why I think Abnett is one of those plug-in writers for DC. Not that he's bad. He has many things that we all love as in general. But I think he is one of those writers in their stable that they can just kind of pull out and throw on any book that needs it. Like what happened with Odyssey, when it was like, shit, what do? We can't cancel it 4 issues in. Quick, Abnett, get on there. And then with these things here as well, where we can just kind of, hey, can we just give you the stories and you can just tell that?
I'm not reading those ones again, damn it. I gotta figure out where I left off at.
You can check, because we dropped it at the same time.
Yeah, I know, but,
I'll be in the show timestamps. The final page is basically just Wally saying that, I'm ready to fix all this shit.
And this is where I have issues with Lobdell, because he could just say I'm Wally West, the fastest man alive, or fastest man to ever live. I didn't need the whole rest of it. He goes, I got this. That's where Lobdell sneaks through with the overwriting.
Yeah. That sounds like something I expect come out of Jason's mouth. That's a Jason Todd line.
That's not a Wally West. Him just going, I'm Wally West, the fastest man to ever live. That would have been it, and then to be continued. Like, almost there. But I didn't hate the story like I expected to. Maybe because I went in with such low expectations. And then I start seeing all the continuity stuff. And even the Brett Booth art didn't annoy me. Maybe because I had just read the Rosmo stuff. So... but yeah, no, I didn't hate the story.
I'm really conflicted in that. I like the core concepts that are clearly from above, that are like, okay, I'm into this. I like these ideas. I take pretty much every bit of dialogue and narration, like 80% of that from Wally. It just doesn't feel like Wally.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Well, no,
Lobdell
because
influence.
but it's also Wally on the Mobius chair. with the
I don't
guards
give a
stuck
shit
in the
about that.
hat.
I hate that.
Come on, Connor. There's a reason he doesn't sound like Wally. Besides, that Lobdell doesn't have good characterization.
Well, let's just chop his head off instead.
No, how dare you?
I'd rather that than Mobius Wally.
Oh,
I thought it meant cut off Lobdell's head. That's what I took from that sentence.
well. In today's type of media, let's not put that out there, please.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's Flash 750. Honestly, it wasn't that long a read as I thought it was going to be. It kind of went in fairly quickly.
It's because it was like 20 pages shorter than expected.
I mean, that's true, but
and it's the Flash, and I mostly enjoyed most of them, so it's I don't mind it.
Yeah, it's not like a knockout of the park or anything like that. But it is, for the most part, it was solid.
So what cover did y'all get?
I read digital, so I mean,
Yeah, I got digitally as well.
I picked it up physically, and I got the Nicola Scott.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's
probably what I would have got. I'd have to have a look at them, but that sounds like one I might have got because I.
That said, when it comes to some of these other ones coming up, I may get them physically now, given the prices changes, the bastards. All right. Okay, well, I guess we need to rate the book. We need to rate 750. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna go out on a limb because I enjoyed the Jay Garrick story so much, and the Johns Collins one, and even the last one and the Booch, and so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say an 8.
Connor.
I'm a lot lower than that. I like some of the stories. Some of them I dislike and want to skip altogether because I just knew I didn't like it, like within half a page. So all things considered, I'll give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I'll go with 8 as well. I mean, I think I was a bit more positive on the main story, and then I liked the Johns one. I like the point of the Buccioletto and Manipul one, even if I don't like the actual power that he uses in it. But yeah, not bad. I didn't even hit the Lobdell one, so I'll give it 8. I'll give it the 8. It was a fine anniversary issue. So we're not done with big books this week because we do have a new number 1, Strange Adventures issue 1. Tom King writing with Mitch Gerads and Doc Shaner on the art. Obviously, this has been highly anticipated because Mr. Miracle was such a big deal. This is kind of the spiritual follow-up, focusing on Adam Strange. And honestly, Gerads' art is so distinct that I feel like I was reading Mr. Miracle. So when I first, the first page, I was like, wait a minute, this just looks like Mr. Miracle. This is jarring.
It shares similar tone and themes.
Yes.
So remind me, was Gerads in the military?
I don't know.
Or was it just King that was an analyst?
King was in the CIA, but I mean...
Yeah.
I've never heard of Gerads being in the military.
For whatever reason, I thought that maybe he served.
I'm going to go on a limb and say I don't think so, because I know what he's spoken before in the past is like, he spent like 4 or 5 years, when he was trying to break into comics,
right?
With like his then girlfriend, now wife, like paying for his rent, like not even like her, like his half, like they were living together when they were living separately, like she was paying like all of his rent just so he could work on comics.
Okay, because I could have sworn in that I thought that was going to add a different layer to this about Adam Strange's experience coming back from Rand.
Well, let me explain.
But I don't know.
Let me explain what the premise of the book is before we dive in. So this is kind of like Mr. Miracle. It's set kind of after a lot of Adam Strange's, adventures, to forgive the pun. And he's written a book about his time during the war in Ran. And, the book kind of keeps coming back to him signing copies at bookstores, and he's doing interviews and things like that. And they are split up because whenever we flash back to the war in Ran, we switch to Doc Shaner, we switch to the pulpier art. And when we do the stuff on Earth, we have the Mitch Gerads kind of more, grittier kind of...
It's so clever because Shaner is so often associated with Silver Age content, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And using him as the this is the time gone by essentially, is genius. But then to kind of throw that into the, oh no, we're actually using this for the quite horrific war stuff, gives it this extra distinction.
It gives it a sheen where, at least here in this country, there's this idea of war being like war that you see in a movie, and there's a disconnect of how graphic and ugly and traumatizing it really is. And I mean, this goes all the way back to World War One, and even probably before that. It's just not as well documented. So the fact you have Shaner doing these very clean lines, very idealized, depictions of it that look straight out of a Silver Age comic, right?
I would not be surprised if at some point in the book we see Gerads taking on doing the flashback, just to show the contrast.
To show the reality, right? Yeah. And
I can see that.
Yeah.
So the main gist of the book, though, is that he's accused of essentially doing something awful, some sort of war crime during the war. Whatever he did to actually win was really, inhumane or whatever, and he's accused of this. And then the person that accuses him of this, angrily at one of the book signs, shows up dead, which looks like a laser beam to the head, which I actually thought that was really graphic. I mean, see when this come up on the TV and the news, I was like, whoa, his head exploded.
The news would never show something like that.
Yeah, because
you say that, I don't think there are a million. Yeah, I don't think we're that far away from them going, well, yeah, we'll put the graphic warning first and then we'll show it.
Yeah, because they say, there's a warning for graphic content, but it's straight up just like a head missing. I'm like, I feel like, at least right now in the world, they wouldn't show that in the news.
Like I say, we're not that far off. When mainstream public broadcasters have showed, like beheadings in the news and actually shown it, I don't think we're that far away. From this is a little bit more extreme in terms of the splatterness of it, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I can buy it.
Yeah. So we see time where they're on Rand together, him during these fights. We see like the sort of the morning talk show hosts discussing his new book, and they're going to have him on to talk. But of course, he ends up have been accused of this from this guy. We see him fighting in the war against the what was the name of the alien race?
The Pykit.
The Pykit. Yeah, there you go.
Which I looked up, but I don't know if that's that's new or if that's something that's been established. Adam Strange has a very weird history when it comes to comics because for the longest time he didn't have a solo series. Like he was in backups and and mysteries in space and all these other books. So it's very hard, at least it was hard for me this morning to try to find this stuff.
I didn't know if they were new or not. I was reading it as Pict.
Okay.
For the essential reason, the Picts were like a Celtic sort of.
Well, they were. What's the word? When you have people that are there, that are fighting back. Not rebels, because rebels that's a political term, but it's the people that are already there that are fighting occupation.
Yeah, they were like the original inhabitants.
Yeah, and they fought the Picts fought the Romans.
Yes, exactly.
During that era. Yeah.
So that's why I assumed
it could be
because it gave me this idea of the Picts aren't actually necessarily the bad guys that we're assuming they're being painted to be.
Right, and we have this very nuanced idea of war now in this day and age, where it's not, good guys versus bad guys. It's all very complex, and King knows this. So the fact that Shaner's telling the story in the past, where we're just supposed to believe Rand's side of it, that these are an invading force.
Yeah, which again, that's why I was reading it as Pict. I was getting that illusion there.
Yeah. No, what I think is really interesting is you get these, because the first stuff you see in the battle on Ran is, again, really pulpy, really heroic looking, and then it's after that you get to have this guy accusing him of something. Although I did pop a little bit for the pick tank that transformed into essentially a transformer. He actually stood up. I'm into that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Because we don't all we really see is we see him get called away at one point, to go and help his family, because Alana's in trouble or whatever. So he's like, no, I need to go I have to leave this fight. So we don't really get a sense of what he did in this first issue. If indeed he did do something, that there's merit to this. Although it feels like it is, because I feel like a lot of this, what it was getting at, is this idea of it was making me think of Vietnam in a lot of ways, where when soldiers from Vietnam came back, they, instead of being treated like war heroes, they were treated like they'd done something wrong, like they'd been committing atrocities, and they were really questioned. And I was getting lots of vibes of that in this. And even Adam Strange, I feel like he goes to this gala, he speaks, he gets a medal. And there's a great moment outside where Alana's talking about, it's all blown up all over the news sites and they all think you're great. And he's got the medal in his little box. And instead of actually paying attention to it, he just starts doing pew pew noises. And I thought...
So one of the guys that follows me, because I had asked which cover people got. And someone responded to me, and I'd have to look through my Twitter. But they said that Gerads is at the shop they were at. And he was winging koosh balls at people, yelling pew pew. If you didn't pick up his cover. And I was like, that sounds like a threat, but I feel like I missed out. So yeah, I love that pew pew is going to become a thing out of this now.
Yeah, again,
is that the new Dark Side is?
It may be because the coloring, is very much like Mr. Miracle when it's the Gerads art, which makes a lot of sense. But because of that, there's a big contrast between that and the Shaner stuff, which is so clean. Do they do their own colors? I know Gerads has done before, and Shayna sometimes does. Just in the credits, I don't see any separate colors, so they must be just doing their own colors. Yeah, that makes sense. And given they're only doing half an issue each, I imagine that they have got time to do it then, because of that. We see, it is very pulpy. He's fighting a giant monster. And I think this idea of accusing him of these war crimes, when what we're seeing in the images and what we're seeing in the panels is such classic sci-fi pulp adventure. Like, it almost doesn't click in our brain that he could have done something awful in this scenario. And I think part of the charm of this book might be, over the course of the story, revealing where the grey area comes in. Like, what did he choose to do that could be taken as something, because obviously they're adamant that all of it's lies. He goes on TV and says, no, this is a lie, I never did this, this isn't something. Well,
I want to know is how this guy would have gotten information, because he's there for a book signing and it's basically his memoirs, right?
Yeah.
So, but he says, I know what you did to those people, to the Picks or the Pikets.
I think what gets me is, he is so adamant that, like, say, he goes on TV, he goes to Batman, and it's like, hey, look, you investigate the shit out of me. I've got nothing to hide.
Yeah, I like that scene.
So adamant that it makes me go, there is something that he's done that he doesn't even realize was something that was wrong in the time, I think.
Yeah, no, that's what I think too. There's going to be something that he does then feel bad about later, but it's not something that's occurred to him as of yet, or something that he's not even aware he did. Maybe some choice he made had a negative effect that he didn't realize at the time. Because that's kind of the big thing, is that he wants Batman to investigate him, and Batman says, no, I'm too close, no one would believe me, it has to be someone who's impartial, which leads to the ending, which is Mr. Terrific showing up to investigate on instead of Batman, to investigate Adam on his behalf. So that stuff is really cool, and I like the debating as well from the TV interviewers, right, where one of them was really against him and says, no, he denied everything, what are you talking about? And the other one's like, no, he didn't deny specific things, he just said it's all lies. It's like, well, that's still denying it. And they have this debate, and it was kind of almost really bugging me, because it was really, really realistic in a really annoying way, where people who debate these things, I'm like, why are you having this argument? This is not an argument. This is one of you is just trying your hardest to make this sound like it's something it's not, and it's frustrating. I landed on the page here actually. There's a page where the top panel is Alana kind of tearing up, and the talk, because we keep hearing about his daughter, right? And they keep bringing up his daughter as if, well, implying that, hey, they lost his daughter. He clearly, this war meant something to him, and he lost a lot in this war. He lost his daughter, right? Although I don't think they ever quite phrase it like that, but it's heavily implied.
Something's happened to her, and we don't know if she's dead or was captured.
And it keeps teasing her. It keeps teasing Alina right throughout the book. And this page here that I'm looking at, and I really love the art here, is that the top panel is Alana saying, "What about Alina?" when they're talking about leaving the planet, right? They're evacuating, and the bottom two panels on this just 3-panel layout is actually on Earth in present day, and it's Alana on a phone, but she's in the reflection of the jetpack. Yep. I love it. I love those panels.
Yeah, and that's why she's saying that you can't comprehend what he did.
right?
And then, you know, the sacrifice he made, and you know, in
There's-
contrast with that talking about, you know, his daughter at the top of the page,
Right.
it really, you know, gives that, you know, impression that that something happened to her.
Yeah, and then we finally.
There's also blood spatter on the picture of the family
Yeah.
and on the jetpack.
And we finally
when he's
get.
talking about Alina.
And we finally get to meet the daughter as well. We finally get to meet Alina. When he hugs her and it's like, "Oh, we have to go," and I know you're scared and whatever. And that's right before the scene with Batman, where he's like, "Hey, Batman, take my gun, analyze it for stuff, and to tell him I didn't do this, I didn't kill this guy." So it's really exciting seeing exactly how that is. And one of my favorite touches in the art, and I'm not sure if it actually is. I think it is. I think Gerads actually drew Adam in a Shaner panel. It's when he's like beaming back to Earth, and I think the whole idea is that he's about to be on Earth, and since the Gerads art is the Earth art, it's like he's becoming the Gerads art in front of them as he beams out.
I think they actually both drew him, and they're overlaid with a lot of opacity.
I can see that.
Yeah, either way, but yeah, that is the point.
Yeah,
is he's Zeta beaming, right? Which then I had to remember that because I'm only used to the Zeta beam in like post-crisis history, but in the pre-crisis era, it was like a timed thing.
Yeah, it would, like every
there,
X amount of hours, it would zap him.
Right, and then it would pull him back. Whereas later it just became a transportational beam. Here, come and go as he pleases.
I think one of the other things we have to address here with the whole Silver Age pulpy Shaner art for the stuff on Ran is that I was also getting the impression that the reason why it looks so idealistic is because this is the version that's in his book and his memoirs. The way he's written it is what it looks. This is what it sounds like and feels like.
Yeah. So we maybe can't trust everything.
Right, and even the dialogue that King writes is very Silver Agey. Like when he looks at that transformer and he says that years ago I lived a peripatetic life as an archaeologist, always searching for answers, always finding questions. That's very Silver Age.
Yeah.
Like that's not, you know, or that's how he wrote it in his memory, you know. So yeah, this is the first thing from King that I've read in a long, long time, probably since Mr. Miracle, that I'm like, yeah, this guy gets it.
Yeah, this was like, I feel like any worries that any of us had, because, you know, the last chunk of Batman wasn't that great, and Heroes in Crisis, you know, obviously had some serious problems. You know, I a couple of pages into this, because I was actually worried, because the first couple of pages, they weren't bad pages, but like, it sounded like King, right? And I'm like, the last few things I've read from King weren't that hot, and it had that kind of disjointed feeling, which didn't bother me until Heroes in Crisis, and then, but by the time I got like maybe a third through this book, it started to click together in a way where I got what he was doing, and it all just fit, and I'm like, this is when King's on top of his game. So I'll say it, this is King back on top form, and this, you know, this is going to be a contender for the year. We're going to be talking about this at the end of the year.
I think that in the back of my head, there's a scare that there's just a little worry that it will nosedive. You know, like Heroes in Crisis, like the back half was worse, right? And there's a part of me that's worried that maybe, but I don't want to think that, because I don't think it will.
Heroes in Crisis that wasn't that great to be. I mean, it was better, but it wasn't like up to the standard or Mr. Miracle standard to begin with.
It was a little bit too ambitious for its own good, whereas here, I feel like this is the type of story that he tells.
Yeah, I feel like we're already like analyzing this issue and talking about what things means and what the art changes mean and what the character's doing. Like, we're already analyzing this to such a degree. Compare this to any other comic issue we talk about this week or last week or the week before. We are sitting here discussing what things mean in a way that's not just because they're not as clear or whatever, but because there's clear like creative like artistry going on. That's you know, implying things, or there's subtext there. This is, you know, Tom King is a fantastic writer. I would say most of the time. It's just that he had a couple of bad things that sort of hit together.
I think when he's got the right focused story to tell, he can tell a wonderful story.
Yeah. I mean, there are parts of his Batman run that I absolutely love. Right? Like,
but as a whole 100-ish issue saga or whatever it is, like 90-ish.
Yeah.
You know, but it falls flat, right?
But then, like, his Mr. Miracle, his Green Lantern Darkseid War issue is one of my favorite stories I've ever read. Like,
yeah, and
so
I still haven't read it, but from everything I've heard, his vision is kind
Vision,
of in the vein of
Omega
this
Man?
Miracle or this Omega Man,
which
I didn't love, but I like
I
the
haven't-
idea.
yeah. So I haven't read it. I know nothing about it. I want to read it. It's very hard to find though because he wasn't a huge name,
Mm-hmm.
when he did it and the era that it came out in. However, like when it comes to stuff like this, where I know he knows what he wants to say, and the fact that they're bringing in Mr. Terrific, who is this, they keep bringing up fair, right? So if this is the story of a split person, right? Then you're bringing in the guy that believes in fair play to, break him down.
I mean, I think this story ultimately is going to be about the shades of grey of both what Adam, had to do in the war, what he lost in the war, what other people may criticize about him being in the war without being, understanding the weight of that pressure themselves. I think it's dealing with that, but not necessarily in a way where he's clearly in the right and everyone who's criticizing him is clearly in the wrong. That there's an element of him actually kind of processing that himself and saying, okay, here's what I'm proud of, here's what I'm not proud of. And it was different to Mr. Miracle, where Mr. Miracle was about depression. This is about something a bit more specific.
Yeah, it was about depression and fatherhood and how, how those interact. In this, though, it definitely feels like a soldier. Like that's what he said, a soldier coming back and the world changing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's about the difference that he's perceiving the world, but also in the way that the public opinion is on him as a returning soldier, and in a war that maybe the vast majority of the public don't think was right. Who knows?
Right, and so, and like again, I always tread lightly when it comes to politics and whatnot, but you could tell where King kind of sits on this, where you might disagree with the war, but you can't forget that the soldiers are still people, right?
Yeah.
And that they're fallible and they make mistakes and we need to hold them to a standard. But what they're going through is something that us sitting here in our chairs
can't comprehend necessarily.
Can't comprehend.
You don't want to just demonize them. Go, well, they're at war, and I don't agree
and
with
then
that war, so they're all terrible.
And then another facet that's in there as well is that I think one or two people say, whether it's the public or the interviewers, say that this is a war that was on another planet for another place. Like, this doesn't affect the world or America. Like, why do we care about this? And of course, Alana at one point says, yeah, but this enemy would eventually came right through and eventually got to Earth. And whether that's true or not is, remains to be seen.
And that's part of the mystery is he's claiming that, oh no, they must, well, he's not claiming, he's suspecting that they might be here and that's who, killed this guy. And maybe they're here and maybe the war's not over.
And I hear that all the time out of people that I know when it comes to certain people and whatnot. And there's this paranoia, and this is why we need a strong military. And they don't realize that the war is not like I brought up at the beginning. It's not like you see on TV. It's not Kiefer Sutherland waterboarding people and saving the day. It's all very much more complex, and to me, is you got to let the experts do their jobs, right? Like, and it's not for me to weigh in on if they're doing a good or bad job. So, and I feel like here with Alana, she's someone from Rand, so she's going to have a bias, right? Like it's built into her that, oh no, they would have come to Earth and overrun here too. So what we did was noble and for the greater good. But again, we were only getting her side. Yeah. There's something about her I don't trust. She has a very femme fatale kind of vibe.
Well, it's interesting because I don't think I trust Adam right now either.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to trust him.
No. I think he's. I trust in the sense that I think he's genuine in what he believes, but I don't know if he necessarily is right in that sense. I don't trust that he is right in his decisions. Just a question as well. Earlier, Matt, you brought the blood splatters on the picture. Yeah. I was intrigued by that. Do you think that was okay when that picture was taken? It was there was blood on the lens, or was this a case of because we talked earlier about how Shayna's sections are these idealized representations of what happened, and then Gerads is this is the harsh reality. Right. But is it possible that those blood splatters aren't there? This is just what he's seeing, and that is maybe this reality that we have from Gerads can't necessarily be trusted.
And that's kind of what I think, because it's also on the jetpack where It wasn't there until Alana comes into view in the reflection.
You sure? Because obviously it's on the jetpack. It's that picture. It's the same picture that's printed on there, which is why I question if it's something that was on the lens. Because you can just about make out that it is the exact same picture that he's had printed out.
Oh, it is. It is on the picture. Okay. Yeah. You're right then.
But again, I'm like, okay, is it this specific picture is triggering something in his memory, and that's why he always sees it that way? It's this regret because it's obviously this is his daughter in this picture, or is it just okay? No, this is the reality.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to trust.
Yeah, I don't know either, and that's it's doing a good job too, of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think the key thing is here is that some of the disjointed stuff in Batman, or in Heroes in Crisis, after a while felt like it was just like it felt like it was aimless. This feels like everything that it's leaving out is to tantalize us and make us think about what the story actually is, and make us think about the differences in the art and think the differences in the timelines and all these little things. Is like everything is provoking thought, and that's a big difference, I think. So. There you go. That's Strange Adventures issue 1. Matt, what are you giving the issue?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5. Real strong out the gate.
Connor?
I'm gonna go with the 9. I think I was probably leaning towards the 8.5, but actually talking about it, I like it a bit more.
Yeah, I'm going with the 9 as well. I think it's really strong and it's very confident. It knows what it's doing. This is clearly where King's at his best. Is with these types of 6, 12 issue stories where he's got this clear defined thing. And while technically Heroes in Crisis was that, Heroes in Crisis I think suffered because it was also an event of a DC Universe sort of style. And this is a DC character, but it's personal. It's focused.
Outside of poor Roy Harper, nothing of that is really stuck.
Oh yeah, Roy's still dead.
Yeah. Like Wally gets out of jail free. He's sitting on the chair.
See,
Ivy's regrown.
See if we get to the end of death metal and whatever G5 is going to end up being, right? And it fixes things Dick's Dick again, Wally's Wally again. We have a Titans team, we have a Teen Titans team, we have all these things, but there's just no Roy Harper. I'm literally going to make lol Roy's still dead a thing. That's going to be a new thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like LOL Cena wins, right?
Yes. No, it's LOL Roy's still dead. Alright, that'll take us on to Superman Villains issue 1 with Bryan Michael Bendis, Matt Fraction, and Jody Houser was in this issue.
So, do we think that they moved her story from heroes to villains? I
could see that being the case because I bet the thought process was, it's Supergirl, she should be in the heroes issue. Oh no, wait, she's kind of infected right now and kind of villainous. Right. So they probably moved it.
And it takes place before the story in Supergirl.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay. Outside of that, I thought this was a real fun issue.
Yeah, I like the main story.
Not a big fan of the art, though. The art was kind of hit or miss for me.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I actually see. So the main story, which it's sort of sprinkled throughout, we get it in 3 or 4 parts as it goes through, and it's the Daily Planet, and it's Kent and Lois. Kent? Clark and Lois.
It's called Superman, because everyone knows now.
Got to talk to Leon, and Perry's there, and it's them trying to talk to her, and then on the roof talking about how they have this story from Lex, and Lois has corroborated it, and Leon is the head of the secret or the invisible mafia, all this stuff. So I like this story as well. I like the tone of it, and here's the thing: they are, for me, there was some dodginess to it, but I don't know if it's right for a Superman story, but
not.
Oh, Matt, Mike. Yes. So I don't know if it's right for a Superman story, but at the same time, I kind of get it, the idea that they're exposing this shady, darker side to the Daily Planet right now. So I get that part of it. But I did generally like the feeling of it, if that makes sense.
No, I do. If this was taking place in a back room, right, and there's one light, but for this to be taking place in Perry's office, in a rooftop, it just didn't fit. The art, actually, I don't have any issue with. The art looks fine. Just for what it was presenting, it didn't match with me.
Yeah, I really liked the art. It did make Clark look a little bit like John Hamm a couple of times, I thought.
Yeah.
Which is just cool. I don't mind that. I kind of like the tone. I like the colouring especially. I thought because they're in a room with a lot of screens, so it's kind of like it's the light from the screens that are illuminating them as opposed to an actual light, and that gave it kind of a tone, which I really liked. So I like that stuff. They reveal this story at the end to the public, expose the new owner as this, secret mafia boss, and it's like, okay, Delayed Planets, earlier this week they revealed Superman, and now they've revealed the new owner is this person. So and this is going to be continued both in Superman and in Action Comics, which I'm excited for.
Yes.
But let's start with this first little bit here, which I'm sure you've got stuff to say on, which is the Kents are alive, and Clark goes to see them, and it's basically about how he's revealed himself to the world, and Jonathan's like, hey, you just told the world that your mum's like the best, like you're good for a couple of Mother's Days. Was the line. I assume you like this.
Yes, I like this a whole lot, and I loved him going to at the dad. The last thing was, anything, Pa. He goes, and then he asked, "Where'd my grandson get to?" So like the fact that there's a relationship there, that I was so worried about poor John not having a grandpa, but Pa Kent's there, so it's fine now.
Yeah, actually,
it's real good.
I loved actually after the meeting with Leon, they come out and like Firefly or whoever is at the window, and so Clark's like doing the Superman pose in front of her. He's ripping the shirt open, he's ready to go, and Firefly just flies off because he's like, you know what, this is too much, I can't take this. And Lois yells out, "Oh, come back, you'll make page 5." I thought that was funny. Also, the bit before that where Trish sort of gets everyone to show their hands, like who feels safer at work because they're with Superman, and everyone says, "All right, let's get back to deadlines now. We've got stuff to do." So
everyone away from the windows.
I like that.
The Lex Luthor thing. This is exactly what I wanted to see. As soon as they announced that Superman was releasing his identity, I'm like, I need to see Lex having a conniption fit, and it happened. He throws his computer into the window and tears up the Daily Planet newspaper. So yeah. Yep.
That was alright. It was only 2 pages, but it's what it is.
It's Steve Lieber. It's the Jimmy Olsen part. So.
And then there's a Toyman story, which is about how Toyman. Like, for a long time, Superman's been trying to, like, talk Toyman into, like, you can do better than this, you can be better than this, and he never really believed him. But seeing him reveal who he is and realizing that, hey, he's a normal guy with a normal job. And
he's not just an alien.
Yeah, and even one of the things that he points out as well is that when he's giving his speech on TV, he's like, hey, he sounds like he's talking about himself as much as he's talking about me whenever he's spoken to me in the past. So he actually turns himself in, but once he turns himself in, checkmate, the knight, or king, sorry, a king. He shows up and recruits him to take on Leviathan. So now Toyman's going to be in checkmate.
And the whole point is he wants him to do what he does, right? Make the little gadgets and gizmos. So essentially, he's going to be checkmate's Q, but he wants him to design stuff that's going to get under Leviathan's skin, because King's now worried that they're a country now, they could be a continent, by the fall, and we need to get out underneath. So I really like this.
Unfortunately, the art is once again Riley Rosmo. We got a double dose of him this week. Admittedly, though, it's not as bad as the Flash story. The art here, it's a bit more restrained.
Yeah.
So that's good. So we got a story with Mongol. So we actually have a Mongol passing the torch here. To put it in the most tame way possible.
So I had no idea what was going on here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize there's been multiple. And then I'm like, why is that one dressed different?
Yeah, so we see like 2 Mongols, right? And Mongol explains that he killed his father, the previous Mongol, just like his father before him and his father before him. Right. And as soon as he said that, I thought, oh, are we going to get a story at some point of how this Mongol gets replaced by this younger Mongol? And the story actually ends with younger Mongol, like his son, ripping out his heart and saying, I am now Mongol and then there's like a lot of Roman numerals that I don't know them enough.
So I plugged it in. It's 1791, so now he's 1792.
That's pretty funny. So basically Mongol's pissed. He's like, wait, the only being in the universe to like best me in a fight has been pretending to be a human. He's been an ant working an ant job. Like he's livid about it. Absolutely livid.
Well, then he kills his messenger too, like the one guy that keeps calling him like, oh, Exalted One, and
yes, yeah, he does that. Yeah,
and he crushes his head in anger,
And
and
then
then they get
New Mongol rips out his heart and takes his like emblem. Which so here's what's so funny about this is I love the idea that this kind of establishes for me that every time I see Mongol, it might actually be a new Mongol because they all seem to more or less be the same. They have slightly different suit designs, but like like they just keep replacing each other.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
and a nice little quirk to Mongol. So I mean, this might be a different Mongol that destroyed Coast City. That could have been Grandpa Mongol for all we know. We don't know how these guys age.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So
we don't know.
So, yeah.
So really interesting stuff. Then we have the Supergirl section, which is just kind of her reacting and being pissed. The funny thing, the only problem with this for me is that Clark did tell Kara that he was going to do this. There was a beat before she got infected. There was a beat where he was clearly telling her about this. So other than that, though, I do like her reacting and getting angry. This leads her to Smallville. It also sets up that Ben's still kind of moping about her. So this is clearly setting up stuff for the last few issues of Supergirl. Unfortunately, it is the last few issues. I wish it wasn't, but that's what we're doing.
For right now.
Yeah. The art looks good, though. Again, it looks just like her book for the most part.
Yeah.
There's a one-page Bizarro story, and I was glad it was only one page because I was worried we were going to have to read a lot of Bizarro speak.
No. But this is the same Bizarro that was in Terrifics.
Yes.
So this is the Square Earth one. And I guess he's okay. Like, he's wondering if he's not Superman. Like, but he's always known. I don't understand the point of the story. Because I always have a Bizarro story. Because it was villains.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the art here. It's not my style, I have to say. But hey, and, and then we come back to, Lois talking to Leon, continuing the main story back to that main art. And that's when the bombshell kind of comes out, and it's the end of the book. So I do like the reveal, this idea that continues this. I will say, as much as there was a little bit more villain focus in this issue, it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. It still felt like I still felt like more than half of it was still just following, Clark and Lois and the other characters.
Well, I liked that it focused on the heroes one focused on their reactions to it. This one was the villains' reactions and really putting Leon in the spotlight here.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're paying off some of the stuff in villains. Leviathan. I'm having a bad time today. Leviathan Dawn and what we got there with Checkmate. So yeah. Oof.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that this and Checkmate and Event Leviathan, all these things are all kind of syncing up kind of nicely between all of Bendis' books, which is kind of cool. Yep. So now, it's funny because I really like the main story in this. I don't know if I like this issue overall as much as Heroes, though, because I feel like I liked all the individual stories in Heroes. I think I liked a bit more because as much as it's nice to have the Kents back, like little stories like all the mail that we're getting, I really like that little story, and the teacher story was really good in Heroes. So I think I like the Heroes one a little bit more overall.
Me too.
But this was still solid. It's still continuing everything. It's basically, since we're not getting double shipping on these Superman books, every so often we're getting one of these one-shots to advance it a little bit further, quicker. Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. What are you giving it, Matt?
I'm going to give this a 7.5.
I'm going to go with I think I like the main art a bit more than you did. I like how moody it is, even though arguably maybe that doesn't fit with Superman as much. But I think because it was all the offices and the CD revealing of this mafia it kind of made it work. So yeah, that's Superman Villains issue 1. So that'll take us on to Batman 90. It's rare for Batman to get bumped to the 4th book on the show, but it's that kind of week.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm back.
You're back. It's not been that. Hey, for people listening to the podcast, it's not been that long.
No, I want to acknowledge that they did their wrestling segment, and they went, we're doing that, and then 2 months, so you can take a break. I went, oh, cool, what, like 20, 30 minutes? And Matt went, yeah, it'll be a quick one. That's fine.
I knew that was wrong. I just didn't want to fight about it.
You could have just said to me, be longer. I could have got food.
We had a pay-per-view to talk about and 2 weeks of Dynamite. There was no way it was going to be less than that.
You should have said. And I came back after like 25 minutes thinking, all right, okay, cool. Still on wrestling. All in all, 45 minutes there were between the two things, not 20 or 30.
There's a violin playing just for you. All right,
I could have eaten a whole meal in that time. I could have cooked and eaten in that time.
Batman 90 is what we're here to talk about. And finally, Gillen March. Nowhere to be found. in this issue.
Oh, it feels good.
That does feel good. Jorge Jimenez is the artist. Obviously, James Tynion the fourth being the writer still. And this is Catwoman telling the story of the designer and how they encountered him back in the early days of Batman. Not right at the start, as she puts it, but soon after. So it feels kind of like year 2, year 3 kind of era. You know, he's running around with Robin and all that stuff. So this is how, and she's in the purple outfit, and how her and the other villains, that, you know, Penguin, Riddler, and Joker, all got these invitations to this, you know, this secret meeting. Although, just before we get to that, Harley Quinn's chasing Deathstroke with drones, and she's using a DualShock 4 to control them. I thought that was kind of funny.
Honestly, that was one of the moments in the art I wasn't a big fan of. I do not like
her face.
Harley. Yeah, it's the face.
No, I agree. I don't like her face, but I was too busy cackling at the fact that they made the controller look like exactly like a PS4 controller.
Yeah. I really like Jimenez usually, but yeah, this Harley distracted me.
I will say the side profile view on the bottom is absolutely fine.
Yeah,
it's just the first one.
It's just that evil smile she's got as she's like wearing the headset. She's doing the gamer thing.
To me, it's very manga anime-esque, and I'm not a fan of that style. So, but no, the rest of it, I really don't have any issues. Jimenez is Catwoman in the purple suit, which that's up there with one of my favorite Catwoman suits because it's so simple.
I think it is my favorite. That is my favorite, I think.
See, I like her Master Thief one with the goggles.
I like the goggles one too.
The hat that makes that's my favorite Catwoman suit. This one's a close second, though, I think. But,
so they get all these invitations for the designer. She goes to the pier, and the idea is that this is some guy who's like kind of like a myth to, like, you know, thieves and criminals, that he's pulled off these jobs that no one else ever believes happened. You know.
So when we get to his history, did anybody else think this is Professor Moriarty?
Never occurred to me.
This sounds like Professor Moriarty. If he had said that, like, he suffered his greatest loss and fell off a waterfall, I would have been like,
I could see it. I'm also very interested in the house. Is this a new magic house we've got going on?
I think it is.
I'm down.
House of Secrets, House of Mysteries, House of Design.
They go out to a house, kind of just in the middle of
Gateway House, right?
And they called it Tartarus House, which I thought
Tartarus
was interesting, given Tartarus is, you know, entrance to the underworld.
Here's the thing about the designer, right? I think his cloak is a bit over the top, but I do actually really like how simple his mask is. It's kind of a Rorschach style, just pull over your head mask with a D on it.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
He has a cool ass sword.
Yeah, I'm down with that side of it. So,
did you guys ever play Soul Calibur?
Yeah,
it's very much like Soul Calibur.
I'm familiar with it though. I'm familiar with Soul Calibur. So basically, what happens here is that the designer, and we see sort of Catwoman's perspective, she goes in for this interview, this one-on-one with him, and the idea is that he explains to her, like, that, you know, he once had his greatest enemy, and he battled him out, and essentially he eventually won by realizing that he was always just like a little step ahead, so his, like, you know, the hero against him would always just sort of catch up and be able to, like, outsmart him. So what he had to do was spend a year and, like, go, you know, 100 steps ahead and become so much better at the game that there was no way that the hero could win. So he takes Catwoman and he kind of explains, okay, so what's the biggest job you'd ever think of pulling? And then he sort of escalates, says, no, this is what you're actually capable of, and kind of explains how she could pull off this even bigger thing. And the idea is that he does the same for Riddler and the same for Penguin, right? And they come out and they're kind of like talking about, oh, he kind of convinced me that I could become mayor and I could do all this with all these assassins. And Riddler's like, oh, I could set up a labyrinth the size of an entire city. It's basically, this guy's here to make the villains the best villains they could be and, like, improve their... It's almost like kind of what Year the villain was supposed to be to the villains, but this guy's, like, actually... kind of like good at it. Good at it. So, and I love this idea that when he sees the Joker who's last, that hearing whatever the Joker actually wants to do as his big end game, or, you know, as to what, like, the worst thing he could think of, it freaks him out so much that he decides, no, I have to actually take my plans back and just kill you people, because I can't let the Joker be what he's going to be. That is actually a pretty great little idea to me.
Love it. And then they asked him why, or what Joker did. He goes, all I did was tell him a joke. Like, yeah,
I know, I love it.
Oh man, this is the type of Joker I like. I like the clown prince. I guess I'm just tired of Snyder's completely psychotic. I like Joker that has a dark sense of humor.
Yeah,
I think this is an interesting moment though, because I think Tynion generally falls into having the same Joker as Snyder, and this is before he became that. The idea that he wasn't always quite as psychotic. He kind of got there over time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea that the others would even like sort of hang around with them even sort of implies he's not as completely crazy as he would become.
Yeah, they do have that hesitation about it though.
Oh yeah,
they do. He's that guy that kind of hangs in the back, and you're like, should we talk to him? Well, we should befriend him in case he does snap.
Honestly,
we'll be fine.
I think I would say this is easily my favorite issue of Tynion's Batman so far.
It's up there.
I dug this. I dug the idea that Joker ends up killing him because he snuck in a weapon, and the others like, oh, what do we do? And Penguin's like, okay, we'll cover this up. This never happened. We were never here. And there's still some more to this. And the reason why Catwoman's so nervous about telling Bruce all this, by the way, I'm on the page. The panel of the house burning and like Joker smiling with the flames behind him.
Joker at the bottom is fantastic. It really reminds me actually of that. I think it was the last Hell Arisen cover. The Epting one. It reminds me a lot of that.
Even just the panel at the top with the house on fire in the lake. Just looks really good. But the reason why she's so scared of telling us is that the big plan that she had, and it seems like the designer, if he's still alive and sort of coming back for revenge or whatever it is right now, the big plan she had was to actually steal from Bruce. It was to steal the Wayne fortune. That was the big job, the big task. And it's worth mentioning that it seems like in the flashback, she didn't know Batman was Bruce Wayne. This was something that was independent of her feelings for Batman.
She was just like robbed from the richest guy there is.
Yeah.
There is, and before they know it's hitting them, she's gone.
Yeah.
And so
it ends with Batman, grappling down, realizing that okay, he's the target. If something's going to happen, and that's it. Yeah, I love this issue. I felt like for me, this was Tynion really establishing the mythology of what he's playing with, and it felt like he's like, no, we've got this rich history, all these Gotham villains, we're going to play with that a little bit. But not in a way, because Snyder always did this thing, which I liked at first, where he was doing the history of the city and the gates of Gotham, and okay, these are the four families who built the city and the bridges and all that. But it felt like it was too obsessed with it as the run went on. I like that Tynion's doing the history of Gotham, but he's doing the history of Gotham within the time span of what we think of Gotham from the dawn of Batman and all the villains since then. And
it's the same kind of idea and concept of let's bake things into the foundation.
Yeah.
Whereas Snyder did this into the very foundations of Gotham City entirely.
Well, and then it's gotten in with Snyder's gotten into the entire universe.
Yeah,
the Bat God. Yeah, and Barbatos and all that. Yes,
this is a lot more restrained. It's just the foundation of Batman.
Yeah, because what I like about it is that with the exception of the designer himself, obviously, because he predates all this, is that this world exists since Batman, and Batman arguably is the reason why a lot of these characters exist. It's not, everything was destined to happen from the dawn of time because of the Bat God.
Right.
No, it's because Batman became Batman, and it triggered something in the citizens, in Joker, and so on and so on.
There's a word for that: escalation.
Oh yeah, there you go. Good word. Yes.
To quote Jim Gordon at the end of Batman Begins.
Yes. You get body armor. They get armor piercing rounds.
This guy. That might be one of my favorite moments sitting in the theater when he pulls out that Joker card.
Oh yeah.
He's got a flair for the dramatic, likes to wear war paint.
I still think it is the single best tease for the sequel of any comic book movie, including any Marvel post-credit scene.
Yeah, well, Joe's so good about it is that entire movie is about, okay, I mean, Raz is there, but he's kind of, toned down, right? It's Batman versus the mob, it's versus normal things. And the whole end of that movie, not only does it harken back to the end of year one, because that also ends with Gordon at the bat signal, is that, he's like, no, you became this thing, so there's going to be retaliation. There's going to be retaliation from the other side because of what you've become. So the moment, because I think there's a moment where he pulls out double homicide, taste for the dramatic like you, leaves a calling card. There's a split second when it cuts to the card facing down, where you're like, well, what's this? And you see the playing card, and I think as a Batman fan, it triggers in your brain like a split second before he flips it, because you don't have too much time to think about it. You don't have much time to really consider it, but it's a split second before he turns it, you realize what it's going to be, and then you see the Joker playing card, and it's like, and I think what's so exciting about it is that you're like, what's a Joker in this world, like in this Batman world that they've just, this gritty realistic Batman world they've just set up? What is the version of the Joker that fits here?
And then for Nolan to completely nail it and stick the landing.
Oh yeah,
like it's one of my favorite movies. Oh, no, The Dark Knight.
Wonderful.
Like, so good.
I love how this turned into let's praise the Dark Knight trilogy.
But I feel like Tynion understands that, and that's what the story is, right? It's a lower key of, yeah, they're all kind of operating, but they don't know what their potential is going to be. Like, they don't really know what Batman's going to do. And Selena even says that in the beginning of, like, it's weird to see the city having a new skeleton being built over the old skeleton. That's kind of what Batman did, right? He brought all of these maniacs to the forefront.
I love early career Batman stories. I love that time of uncertainty when everyone's not really sure what he is yet, and that's why I love things like Batman the Mad Monk and the Monster Men and Long Halloween. All these first couple of years of stories where the villains were just starting to come into existence. I love that period in Batman's history. I almost wish there was Legends of the Dark Knight was kind of this, I suppose, in a way, but I almost wish there was a planned comic that was only meant to run for maybe a few years, but it was no, here's the first few years of Batman's career, and not year one in the sense that you're doing the origin again, just set it right after he becomes Batman. Here's the first few years of actual active Batman duty.
I get why you want that. I think I prefer the idea of just every so often throwing in a story or a mini
I get it, yeah.
Rather than doing we're just going to do it run through, because then later on when you want to fit something in, you kind of have to.
Yeah, it's like Tales from the Black Case book.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
It's kind of like what we've been getting in Hawkman recently with the journal being hey, we can just do whatever we want. We'll do a journal issue. You kind of want that with Batman. We'll just take
I
take
think, those. Connor, we might be the only people that want Batman to be more like Hawkman.
That might very well be true.
Yeah. I saw Venditti teasing the next issue of Hawkman. He's doing for Hawkwoman what he did for Hawkman with all the multiple lives stuff, and I cannot wait.
I'm stupidly. I was telling my shop owner it's my favorite. I think it might be one of my favorite books at DC right now. And he goes, "That doesn't have Superman in it." I go, I know, but it's hear me out. And he tried to get me to read XO a long time ago, and I was like, no thanks.
It's good.
Now I kind of want to go. He goes, kind of sounds like XO a little bit, in the grand, storytelling.
I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah. So from how I was describing it, but yeah, I think we might be the only people saying you know what, Batman needs to be more like Hawkman.
To whip this back round to the book at hand, Batman 90. Really, really good. This is one of the most promising issues Tynion's had so far, and I think. Much like his tech run, because not every issue of his tech run was a home run. Some were just kind of fine, next issues.
Yeah.
I think the sum of his run is better than the sum of its parts, where there's enough building between stuff, the characters going through changes and setting the mythology for when the big thing happens later. It feels like a really worthwhile run to read through. And I'm excited because I feel like his Batman's doing the same thing, where all this establishing, even if one of the issues of the assassins attacking Batman and Catwoman at the grave with that bad Gilla March art might not have been as great on its own, but it's all starting to feel okay, you're really building to something.
It's tying together in a nice way. I really hope this run doesn't get cut short for because obviously that was a fear that we'd had for a while with 5G stuff. Going to be we're get rid of Bruce, and what's going to happen with this book? I kind of hope if we're not doing that, can Tynion just stay on it?
Yeah, I don't think we're replacing Batman with anyone. I feel like Batman's still going to be Batman. That's one of the things that's not changing now because of Didio.
Yeah,
I think Jim Lee even made a comment as such that we're not aging characters off and shuffling them off to the side. Was his words.
Yeah. No, really good issue. I was into it. And Jimenez's art, obviously, I think was really solid, especially in the villains. Obviously, the Harley face at the start was a bit off, but
it's probably the only moment in the issue that I didn't like the art, though.
Yeah. So
yeah,
there you go. Matt, what are you giving Batman 90?
I'm gonna give this a solid 8.
That's good. Good score, Connor.
Yeah, straight 8 from me too.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go just a little nudge higher. I would say 8.5. 8.5. I feel really, really enthusiastic after this issue. So that'll take us on to Justice League 42, Robert Venditti writing, and Aaron Lopresti on the art. We, of course, ended last issue with Wonder Woman being held captive by Eradicator, and the Justice League were in the Scottish Highlands trying to figure out what to do next with Madame Xanadu. this kind of picks up right from there, and their big plan ultimately is for Madame Xanadu to open a portal, and this isn't really revealed what they're doing till the very end of the issue, but I think I'll say what it is so that we can sort of reference it as we go. Basically, they open a portal and Flash super speeds around and makes all the Daxamites and the Eradicator chase him, and then the idea being that they're not going to realize they've went through a portal, so they basically teleport them all to a planet where there's no red or no yellow sun rather, and therefore they don't have their superpowers, and the Justice League can take them on.
It's pretty smart.
Yeah, honestly, this is the perfect solution for this problem.
Yeah,
I really like the idea as well that okay, we can't hide that we're going through a portal of some sort, so they kind of set up that Flash is going to go, hey, I'm going to go change the timeline. Screw you guys, come catch me. And so the when the portal opens, they just think this is the timeline. This is going into the Speed Force.
Yeah, and part of it's just that he's going so fast that they're not going to take everything in. Like they're too focused on keeping up with them to really get in.
Because they are quite close.
Yeah.
There's some conflict between John Stewart and Batman over what to do, and Batman making some judgment calls. Eradicator, he's only just going to take the DNA from her rather than like sort of impregnate her, but he kind of gets creepy with Wonder Woman where he's like, oh, you have good DNA, I might use you to create a Kryptonian master race.
Yeah.
He's an Apex life form.
Yeah. Don't say Apex. I don't want to hear the word Apex ever again.
I know. Well, that's why I laughed when they specifically used that word.
Yeah. So that was going on. Honestly, like Venditti's Justice League is continuing to prove to be an entertaining romp, right? That's what I said. I was a little bit critical of the first issue. I wasn't necessarily feeling it completely yet. As this went on, it's just been kind of fun. And
yeah, I thought the art was a little bit spotty on some of the faces in this issue.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'm looking at one now. It's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman after they've crashed through the wall, and Superman and Wonder Woman both have faces that are just a bit off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will appreciate on the Flash costume that the extra lines are there, but they're not actually coloured in yellow. They're just kind of it's as if they're just lines, seams in the material. It looks better to me than normal.
Yeah, I think they are coloured in when he's actually running, but I think they're not as strong. Like they're not as bright yellow and they're not as thick. So coming off next to the the bands around the wrists and the waist, they don't look as bad.
Yeah. So no, Daxamites chase them. Barry runs off. Takes them to the portal, and that's the big cliffhanger is them on the planet saying, okay, now you have no super strength, or at least not to the same extent. Take us on now. So yeah, fun stuff.
Pretty good.
Super quick.
When they brought in Xanadu, I was kind of hoping they're like, hey, we're going to need Etrigan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that was in the back of my mind. So when she started making portals and stuff, I went, oh. And then it was like, oh no, we're teleporting him to another planet. And
I appreciate this was a pretty logical outcome, and her being like, hey, I'm not going to be the magic bullet you'd hope for against the Eradicator. It doesn't work that way against machines as easily.
Yeah. I did like that too, because when you can put rules on magic, right?
It stops her just waving her hand and being like, right, job sorted. It's still, I think we've got to come up with a plan that utilizes magic for the portal. But portals are more than okay.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly the sort of thing that appeals to me, where the solution didn't feel cheap. It felt like, no, this is a logical solution that makes sense. If you can just take them away from the yellow sun, then the Justice League can take them on. Like, there's, maybe Superman's weaker too, but everyone else, who has powers is now got the upper hand. And that could be good. So, because one of my biggest problems with magic is when it feels like it's just making up things as it goes along. But this doesn't feel like cheap to me. It feels like no, this is a logical solution to this.
Yeah, and as much as I critique the art for a couple of faces, I think Lopresti's Flash, especially when running, looks better than any artist we've had on the Flash in months.
There's that close-up profile of him really pushing himself to get to that portal, and
it's
it looks
a classic
really good.
panel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, his Flash looks pretty good. I'd say overall the art's good, just not amazing,
Yeah. No, it's good for the most part, but like every 3 or 4 pages, there's a face or 2 faces that look a bit off, and it's distracting, and that kind of it ruins the effect a little bit. But it's still mostly quite good.
It's kind of one of those artists, Lopresti, who falls into the I'm never upset if he's on a book because it's he's not a bad artist, but he's not one that I get excited about because of those little problems,
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, so that was Just League 42. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Connor?
No, 8.
Oh.
I'm gonna give it an 8. Sorry.
All right, 8 from Matt. Connor?
Well, I am giving it the 7.5.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fair. I will also give it the 7.5. I think it's solid fun. But not a great book, but just solid fun. So, cool. Which will take us on to the last book of the week, and that is Lois Lane, issue 9. Greg Rucka writing, Mike Perkins on the art. And do you know what I mean, this is a good issue. My takeaway from this, though, is how much I want Mike Perkins to do a Batman book, because everything with Batman and the shadows in this, I was like, yes, his art suits this so much.
This is the first issue where I was like, Mike Perkins' art is damn near perfect right now.
Honestly,
because I think it's whenever he's in daylight or really realistic people and buildings, it can look a bit off.
That said, though, I will say this. I do think, just across the board, this is maybe the best art of the series. Not that there's none of his usual problems, but there was a scene later on with Lois and Renee talking outside the office of Homeland Security or whatever. And I thought his faces there have been the best his faces have been in the book so far. So
that's true.
I do think that generally speaking, he's improved. But the fact that the first half, because the first half of the issue is Lois has sent Renee off to Gotham to look into this. I keep forgetting the name of the new villain.
Kiss of Death.
Kiss of Death. Thank you.
How are you forgetting that? It's so memorable.
But so Renee goes to Gotham, turns on the signal, looks great. Batman shows up, and Renee's like, "Here you go," and it's just a note from Lois saying, "Hey, do your thing. Look into Kiss of Death for me, please." And Renee just waits.
Yeah, the bottom of the note is she'll wait.
Yeah, and we get
like 1 hour.
And we get to see at the airport teasing Jessica Midnight, and that's cool. But Batman comes back, and he's like, "Okay, there may be some sort of supernatural or whatever element to this that's unpredictable." Yeah.
Because her deformity, there might be some occultish stuff there.
Yeah.
So just kind of watch yourself. And
she's like, well, because of the lack of face, and Batman just, I love that panel. It's perfect pacing. It's just a panel of him staring at her, and she's like, you want to say something like "takes one to know one, don't you?" And he just sort of pauses and goes, "Yes."
And it's the smallest of smirks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's good stuff. And then says, "Hey, she's got Superman for this, and then she's got you too. So doesn't need me to do her dirty laundry." So really good stuff. And I actually really like the cook, because basically Lois, if you remember last issue, the maid who worked at the hotel, who was replaced with the killer with Kiss of Death, was deported, right? So this issue, Lois looks into this, and what I love about this.
Not deported, detained.
Detained, sorry, yeah. She was detained. She was picked up and detained. And what I love about this is that I half expected that just to be kind of like, okay, that's a plot beat, but Lois is going to be too busy with the assassin for that to be like something we continue with. But no, good on Rucka. He has her follow through in this, where she cares about the fact that this person was victimized because of her, and her entire family was victimized.
Yeah.
And there's a great conversation here with Renee where Renee points out that Superman and Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter are all technically undocumented refugees as well, right? They're all but they get away with it because they're heroes. And Lois says that's not why they get a pass. And I love that beat. I love Lois saying that.
Yeah, I thought Martian Manhunter was a weird inclusion in that list.
Yeah, but he can also look white if he wants to.
He can, but right now he does go as a black man, right?
Well, in that one book that was on his own, has he ever done that in like Justice League or any of the continuity books?
Yeah, I mean that's John Jones is typically an African American man.
Well, yeah, but recently, have we seen him recently?
I don't know, but
I'm under the impression that was the case as of right now, and we'd have heard about it if that had changed.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, he's a shapeshifter, so he can literally just look like anyone he wants.
No, he could, but he chooses not to, and that's why I thought it was a weird inclusion, because Superman and Wonder Woman, it's like, okay, I get where they're coming from.
Yeah,
I get the point of this, and then Martian Manhunter kind of just, it's like, okay, murkies it a little bit.
I feel like Martian Manhunter doesn't sort of have the same public profile the others do, which is also weird about it. Yeah. But the point she's making is that the reason why Superman and Wonder Woman get a pass isn't because they're superheroes, it's because they're white. And that, I mean, I thought that was quite a poignant thing to put in there. And this is what I was saying they are here. I thought the faces here, Renee especially, I thought across these few pages in this conversation looked really good.
I agree, although I'm a little frustrated that still the best panel of it is still when she's a little bit in shadow, where her cap's covering it, right at the top of that page where they're talking about that.
She looks like Michelle Rodriguez.
A little bit, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So, but and for that coming from her, where she's like, well, yeah, they get a pass, they're heroes. and it's like the look on her face, like coming from someone with immigrant roots, right? Montoya and whatnot. It's someone like she doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it's Lois being the one that, come on, that's not the truth.
Yeah,
but it totally fits Lois's character that she's not going to let it lie. Like she has to expose it. She has to do something about it. It's so into her character. So they go and visit her, and they actually get kicked out because they keep making contact. All I could think of it was Arrested Development. You know, early on in the show where like no touching.
Yep. Well, I like that too. It's because they separated her from her husband and her kids, and like Lois wants to console her because that's who Lois is, and they kick her out, and then she just goes on a cursing spree afterwards, which I love.
I love that. I also love that
she's either sailor.
Yeah, I love Renee calling her out on her swearing, thinking it was funny. But what I really loved here is the way she talks about how no, her family were collateral because of me. And then she sort of pauses and says, "I'm starting to sound like him too." And I sort of chuckled at that because it's like, yeah, that's how Superman kind of talks when he talks about people.
The only bit I didn't like was it starting that with nuts.
Oh sure, I mean,
it just didn't sound quite right as to what I'm used to as Lois, especially in this book.
I mean, that's fair, I guess. I didn't really stick out to me, but whatever.
It did for me, but because everything else has been so pitch perfect, that one word really stuck out.
Yeah. Yeah, so it turns out there was a bit of a swerve where the whole... We got this early in the airport scene, but the attack on the nurse when Midnight was leaving the nunnery, or the hospital, whatever it was.
Right, the convent.
Yeah, the convent. Was actually a ploy. This was like the nun was in on it. It was a ruse.
Yep.
And she gets her hair cut to sort of look more what Midnight looked like before. And the end of the issue is her meeting up with Montoya, because they're going to, who by the way has remodeled the hotel room.
Yep.
Yeah. Under Lois's request. So now we have these characters all teaming up, and it's like, hey, you were a witch. Even if you don't remember it, you were a witch. So we're going to use you to catch this assassin. And that's kind of what the tease leaves off at. So is anyone else upset?
So remember her being a witch. So I'm wondering if this is black magic creeping into Lois Lane.
I think black magic is coming back later this year, like May or June time.
What a twist that would be!
Excited.
Black magic secretly in continuity the whole time.
It is Portland. We don't have too many Portland-based heroes.
What a twist! What a twist it would be. Now, anyone else upset this is ending in like 3 issues? Because
yes,
yeah,
I'm really into it.
It's Rucka.
I said at the start that DC released the solicits for this and Jimmy. The bit that I didn't say is they're actually teasing that maybe they'll do more, because they put out an article on their website and they went, hey, if you want to see more of these books, here are some hashtags.
Please.
And it was, like save Lois, and it was like Jimberly Jimmy Olsen save or something, whatever the hashtags were.
Yeah,
but, they're actively promoting, hey, if you talk about this, maybe we'll do more.
Honestly, like, yeah, I mean, at the very least, I want Rucka to stay on a book and do something at DC.
Well, like, you're bringing Checkmate back and you're giving it to Bendis, so, hey, Bendis, throw him a bit of a bone. Like,
yeah,
let him do some Checkmate stuff, too.
Checkmate as a concept and support multiple books.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to look to see how she was... Like, I'm not, like, she is kind of Rucka's character. Like, he brought her up in Detective Comics. So if she says she's a witch, but I don't see any continuity right now.
I mean, a continuation of this might be as simple as just another 12-issue miniseries. You know, it'll be Lois Lane something, or I mean, hell, you could call it Lois Lane the Question if you're going to keep Renee around. You know,
or he does a question book with Lois as a supporting character.
Oh sure, yeah, flip
that'd be an interesting way.
Flip it.
This is a great issue. I really laughed at the end in the, when she's getting a haircut and. So, I love your accent. It's English. He's like, yeah, where'd you get it? England? Well, that makes sense. When I'm like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, she's, I know hair people like that.
Yeah. But I just laughed because it was so realistic. It just,
well, it's the
thing with hair just where they feel they have to have the conversation going and they just cut with anything.
The second question on its own would be fine. But she already said, what's your accent? So, English kind of covers it. Like, it covers... where it came from.
And it's like, where'd you get it? England. Oh, right. Well, that makes sense when you put it like that. I mean, how else would you put it that it doesn't make sense?
It does make sense.
Also, when they say Jessica Midnight, the Black Queen's bishop, Checkmate, I fist pumped.
Of course you did.
So I'm excited.
No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I think Lois Lane is a book. I think especially in the last like 3 or 4 issues, like I think the second half of the book's been even stronger than the first half. It feels like it really found its identity in the second half, and yeah, I'm really into it. So, Matt, what are you giving Lois Lane issue 9?
I'm giving this one a 9. I really enjoyed it.
Ooh, Connor.
8.5. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go 8.5 as well. I don't know if I can quite go with a 9, but 8.5. So there you go. That is the last book of the week. I had considered doing one of my Patreon books this week, but after last week's like 13 books that I had, I thought I'd take an easier week. And
It was a gauntlet last week.
Last week was a hell of a time. So yeah, this is part of the show where we got our favourites of the week. We did our favourite panel / moment, favourite cover, favourite artist, top 5 books. So Matt, what was your favourite panel / moment?
So like there was a lot that I could have pulled from this week.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty solid week. But I'm gonna go with the Jay Garrick, Hope is Hard, from the Williamson and Marquez story, because that really resonated. So yeah,
that's good. I think I'm going to go with Strange Adventures. I'm going to go with the scene of Adam trying to get Batman to investigate when he's just pleading with him. Here, take my laser gun, analyze it, check it, see if it's the same one that was fired. Go on.
That was good.
I love that moment. Connor.
Pew pew.
Pew pew. You went quiet there for a second for some reason, but
did.
That was a pew pew. Yeah.
Oh, typical. No.
Yes, pew pew.
I loved it.
All right, favorite cover of the week, Connor.
Oh, hang on. I need to look at some of the Flash covers because I forgot.
Yeah. There's a lot of Flash covers.
And you got all the Flash covers, and then you've got both the Strange Adventure covers, and then there's an Evilly Lois Lane.
This is hard.
It's very hard.
This is not fair this week.
No.
How dare you, DC?
I'm checking. Oh, that 80s, that Del Auto Flash cover. Oh, I like that one.
There's like 4 Flash covers that I really like.
Yeah, Lois's cover's pretty good as well, actually, the main one. Yeah, and obviously both Doctor Strange covers are wonderful. I may have to go with the Shinner
Strange
one.
Adventures.
Sorry, yes, Strange Adventures. I done that.
He might be an archaeologist, but he is not a doctor of archaeology.
Oh, he went all episode. He was so close.
Dr. Adam Strange.
Maybe we'll get a doctorate by the end of this, just so that
I hope so. I would love that. And then he goes, "No, still just call me Adam."
Yeah. I mean, how was this Justice League variant, actually? Let me just click on that.
The Janin one.
Oh, it's the Yanin cover. Yeah, no wonder it looked good.
Yeah.
That looks really good. I think I'm going to go... Oh, I don't know. What is this 2000s Flash cover? Let me have a look.
The Marple one, or is that the 2010s?
That's the 2010s one. Which makes sense, given when he was doing Flash.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of Flash covers to choose from. The J one's pretty nice. I think I'm going to go with the Doc Shaner Stranger Adventures, though, I think, overall. I think the pulpiness of that... Because even though, obviously, you have the 2 covers that represent the 2 sides of it, which is clearly a big theme of the book, I think the pulpy one just feels like something we don't get as much of these days. Especially, Shaner's so perfect for that style as well.
Do you know what my favourite touch in the alternating covers is on these 2? Because obviously they're very similar, and that's the point. My favourite bit, though, is at the top where it says Amazing Science Fiction. And on Gerads, it's a question. And on Shaner's, it's a statement. It's got an exclamation mark.
That's a nice touch. Maybe I'll just be weird for once and take the blank variant. That's my favourite cover. It can be anything you want it to be. Nah, I'm going with the Shaner one. Matt, what's your cover of the week?
So you already picked Strange Adventures, so I have to go with the Evilly Lois Lane.
Sure.
As we all know what Evilly drew.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Issue 8.
Wonder Woman issue 8.
Yes, Connor.
Well, I suppose I should pick a Flash cover then, seeing as you've covered those. I'm going to go with the Manipul one. I think it's a little bit different. I like
it's very busy for Manipul.
Mm-hmm.
Like Manipul is usually more clean and But it looks nice.
It's busy in a way that kind of works for the Flash because
Yeah.
it's all this speed line and there's different versions of the Flash crisscrossing in the
And
background.
shout out to the Matina one, the 90s one. I like that one too, the Flash. So
Yeah.
a lot of good Flash covers.
Shouts to that Nicola Scott one that I picked up. That one's really classic.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the 40s J one, right?
Yep.
It's interesting that Nicola Scott, obviously, when she's been doing all of these celebration issues, has had the same format for all of them with the just the lineup of costumes, and then this one's just it's just Jay.
Yeah, I wonder why that choice was made.
Spotlighted.
Yeah, odd.
Well, because yeah.
There's enough Flashes
guess
to do a lineup like this. The Green Lantern one.
She did do the Earth 2 book though in New 52 that had Jay in it.
Mm.
Yeah, his helmet wasn't nearly as cool though.
I guess.
Well, no. Yeah.
I guess. All right. So best art of the week then. So we have the Gerads and Shaner combo for Strange Adventures. We have Jimenez on Batman.
Yeah,
Honestly,
Manifold,
there's some
Marquez.
yeah, but see the thing with Flash 750 you have to take collectively.
Yeah. And there's Rosmo in there.
And there's also Booth.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think anything comes close to Strange Adventures. That combo.
I kind of agree. Strange Adventures is easily my pick.
Yeah, you guys stepped all over my suspense building. So, yeah.
All right.
Shaner.
There you go. Easy peasy.
I'm gonna say specifically Shaner's art. And
See, I can't do. I mean,
I love both
one,
though.
One,
And
we don't do that anyway, and two, I think it's the way they complement and are used for the different parts of the story that makes it really compelling.
I know, but I'm trying to create controversy.
that's ain't going to create controversy, Matt.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You guys already just did it.
This isn't controversy. This is like Matt's being weird again. Someone take him for a walk.
I did need a walk.
Matt, what is your top 5 books of the week?
All right, so number 1, Lois Lane. Number 2, Strange Adventures. Number 3 is Flash 750, I think. Number 4, Batman, and number 5. Let me see. Hold on. Lois Lane. Yeah. Number 4, Batman. Number 5, Justice League.
Yeah. Okay. Connor.
Strange Adventures, Lois Lane, Batman, Justice League, and I guess the Flash.
There you go. My number 1 is Strange Adventures. Number 2 is I'll say Lois. I'll say number 3 is Batman. Number 4 is Superman Villains. Number 5 is Flash 750. There you go. So nice and simple. Not a lot of books this week, but I will say I actually really liked most of them. This was not a week, because sometimes we get a week where we only have 5 or 6 books and only like 2 or 3 of them, and it's like
They're all pretty solid.
Yeah. Even Flash, which I have been down on, had even the main story I thought was better than it had been for a while.
I mean, I found Flash to be a mixed bag. I think I gave that like a 6.5. So it was even my lowest book, but I mean, it wasn't a bad read, like in the way that some of these weeks can be.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty strong week, and I will tell you what is coming next week in just a second when I actually click on the list. But yes, we're getting close to episode 200. We'll probably ask for some questions for 200. 200 will probably be a nice meaty episode because it's 200, and we'll celebrate accordingly. That's coming up at the end of the month. That's the last week of the month. So yeah, coming out next week from DC, we have Batman. Oh wait, this is this week. I need to click next week. Look, it's been a hell of a weekend. All right. That's all I'm going to say. Right, so coming out next week, we have Batman The Outsiders issue 11. We have Batman's Grave issue 6. We have Catwoman 21. We have Dollhouse Family number 5. We have The Flash 751. The reason why that's so quick is because Flash 750 got pushed back a week or two. That's why it's back to back like that. We have Green Lanterns season 2. Green Lantern season 2, not Green Lanterns.
On that, I actually we spoke about maybe a month ago that was cut down to 8 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Liam Sharp was tweeting this week that it's back up to 12 again now.
Oh bloody hell! Just
why? Because Morrison said so.
Maybe Didio leavings will put it back up to 12. Like I give him the chance.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's definitely 12 again.
All right, Hawkman 22 is out next week. We also have Superman 21, Terrifics 26 is out, Wonder Woman 753, and finally Young Justice. Oh, sorry. Yeah, finally Young Justice 14. I was caught off guard there by a second printing, but that's all I'll say.
I did that earlier.
So there you go. That's coming out next week. I imagine at least 1 or 2 Patreon books next week as well, because it is a relatively later week compared to some of the later weeks in the month. So there you go. That's what's coming. And with a bit of luck, we'll have solicits next week as well, unless something delays those further. And who knows right now, given the the change over with Didio leaving and whatnot. Who knows if that'll delay anything. But that's coming. What's so funny, Matt? You're looking very...
There's a Wonder Woman Cheetah trade that's coming out, and I just clicked on it to see.
Yes.
And sure as shooting, Wonder Woman number 8 is in there.
Of course it is.
So if you guys missed it and wanna,
then
it seems to be a pretty nice
issue.
trade.
Don't buy Wonder Woman Cheetah and just read the respective runs.
No, but it's got stories from William Moulton Marston, who's the guy that created, the Wonder Woman. George Perez, Greg Rucka, Jeff Johns, Jerry Conway, Len Wein, John Ostrander, and Mark Waid. So yeah.
Yeah.
I like Cheetah. What can I say?
Yeah, by the way, if you're in the UK or in Europe and you're affected by these digital price changes, let us know on Twitter, at DC Comics Podcast, how what your plan is. Like, is it changing how you read your books? Curious to hear from others who are affected by this. Are you doing essentially what I'm doing and switching back to physical because it's cheaper again? All of a sudden,
there are some people that don't want to go back to physical. They switched, maybe not for a price reason, but just space, and they just. Maybe they'll cut back on books. I
switched up for multiple reasons, but like I've always been tempted to go back to physical. I've dabbled in it from time to time. The fact that it's now the cheaper of the options makes it like, okay, well, that's a good excuse if there ever was one. So I'm curious to hear. But yeah, so I will take this time to thank our patron producers for the month. So thank you to David Short, Alison M. Fordyce, Cindy Palacios, Tyler Hess, and Talking Superman. That means they're all patrons at the $20 or above tier. But of course, you don't have to support us that much. You can support us for as little as $1 per month at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You get some bonuses and outtakes. The wrestling talk that me and Matt do most weeks goes up there for $1 patrons, as well as some other bits and pieces. $5 tier gets you early access to the podcast, as well as previously in the Multiverse. You get that a day early. On the $5 tier, and occasionally there'll be a vote as well for something on one of the shows, usually previously. That'll go at the $5 tier as well. There's none right now, we just had a couple of votes, so it'll be a while before we have another one, but that's where that goes in, if you're curious. So go and have a look and see if you want us to support us financially over there. You can also support us, of course, by rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars and a review. Helps more people find us. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, of course, on your thoughts on the comic books. All that stuff, all of it does help. It helps us grow more of the audience. So, go and have a look at all that stuff. And I mentioned the Twitter at DC Comics Podcast for all sorts. And I mentioned just there that episode 200 is coming up. So if you want to send us some questions or comments that you'd like us to read, we'll do like a sort of special episode 200 little section at the end of the month for episode 200. Send your stuff. You could probably do it on Twitter as well when we get close to the time. But for now, use the email mftvquestions@gmail.com. Send stuff to there. If you want to do anything for episode 200, send it along there. So that is us. That has been episode 197 of the show of Comics from the Multiverse. We'll see you next week for more books and shenanigans and everything else. And Matt's hockey updates and Connor's alcoholism.
Last night was not a good night. Like, I had a great night at the One Year show, but
I can start doing sports if you want. My football team's doing great. We're on a 14 game unbeaten record, and
is that with ties though?
Top of the table. That's with a couple of ties, but we're top of the table now, and we're going for promotion.
Ties don't count.
Of course they count. It's unbeaten.
No, they don't.
It's not
tie
a winning streak.
Tie is the uncertainty principle, or no? It's Schrodinger's cat. Like, it's neither a win nor a loss. You gotta count
but it gives you a point, and it counts.
Nah. Hockey has it figured out. You get a point for overtime, no matter what. 2 for a win. Boom, done. Makes wins mean more, Connor.
Wins still mean more. It's 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw.
This next batch of sales talk is going to be so meaty. It's going to be so meaty and juicy. There's going to be so many figures.
That's it. I'm glad Connor agreed about the goals versus points in that Sean story, because
I think it's
points
weird
are
'cause
different.
You usually wouldn't even say goals. You just do the score.
Yeah, it's 2-1 heading into, or 2-0 heading into the
Yeah.
first break. Yeah.
I-
You don't say points. It's not basketball. It's not, and it'd be like saying up by 2 points in baseball. No, you're up by runs.
Yeah. I think you usually say, they're up by 2 rather than
Right.
anything else after that.
Yeah. So, come on, Johns. You're in a hockey first state of Michigan. Come
All
on.
right. Well, that's the episode. Thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Now you have to decide who draws better, Shaner or Gerads.